Good morning, everybody. How we doing? What is up, sports fans? I have a very important first bit of news to talk about today. I think, whoa, that was loud. This is really earth-shattering stuff here, but did anyone see the wrestler that is a pizza man who throws actual pizza dough to knock out his opponents? Ah, gosh, just amazing. Well done, pizza man. I want to know his name. What's his name? I don't know. Fantastic. And you people say wrestling is fake. How dare you try to fake that? AI, try to take his job. You think Claude Code can disrupt the guy who's throwing pizza dough at other people in the wrestling ring? I think not. Should we post? We should probably post that we're live on our other social media accounts. What do you think? Probably be a good little streamer. Let me get my little link here. And we're gonna take a group photo. Yo, that pizza smacks. Yo, it does smack. Have some cool stuff to talk about today. We're gonna, I can't get, that's funny. We are taking a picture of the screen to put over on Instagram that we're going live. How about that? All right. We've got a few things I want to start off with that I've read this morning as I got prepped. And posted. Phone stand is very artsy. It was a gift. It's very nice. Very nice way to just prop your phone up on the desk. Makes it easy to charge. All right. So Google put out two incredibly good kind of must-read articles and reports that I want to cover first up. One is about a whole bunch of iOS exploit. A whole bunch of iOS exploits in one exploit kit, to be fair. And then it's pretty interesting. We'll get to it. And then obviously Iran cyber war stuff is everywhere. We could talk about that. What else we got? I've got Microsoft is releasing some like threat intel about a new campaign. There's probably some malware stuff. Please explain exploit kit. So, cyber criminals, nation states, all sorts of things will try to bundle some hacking software together. So an exploit is a single exploit, like bit of code written to exploit and take advantage of a single security vulnerability, or I guess multiple security vulnerabilities can be chained in a single exploit. But an exploit is just that. It's going to exploit a vulnerability and usually give you access to something. Exploit kits are generally, they're starting to feel more and more like enterprise software that you would pay for. So there's this whole kind of underground market of spyware and things like that nation states develop a lot of the times and then or contractors that nation states pay develop, and then the customers of which actually download it, and it's very much just like normal software you would expect to buy, and it's got a bunch of exploits bundled under the hood. So when I say exploit kit, it's kind of like, hey, you're not buying an exploit, you're buying the ability to hack. In this case, this exploit kit was targeted at iPhones, and it had the capability to hack iPhones from like iOS 13 through like 17.2 or something. And so there was like a bunch of exploits in this thing, and basically it's like just software that if you got your hands on, you could throw any of these exploits at these iPhones and get access. Good morning, Mohammed. And so we could talk about that one. I think I'll probably make a video about that one. So I was gonna hold off until I bored you guys to tears before I recorded a live YouTube video. What else did I want to talk about? There was this AI tool. Researchers warn that a newly identified open source AI security testing platform was actually used by threat actors. So it's like open source AI security tool put out by a bunch of researchers, was actually used in a pretty big exploit. Can I tell you why America is attacking Iran? No, I can't. Above my pay grade. Above my pay grade. I have a lot of cynical answers to that questions. I saw something today that said that we attacked Iran because they posed an imminent threat for the last 47 years. And then, of course, the follow-up was, how the fuck can anything be imminent for 47 years? That's not what imminent means. I don't know. There's obviously, people protesting. I don't know if you guys saw that protest where the Marine stood up and said, no one wants to fight and die for Israel. And so there's obviously people that are out there thinking that we're attacking Iran just because of Israel. I don't know. I have no insider intel here. Decipher. What's up? Is that Dennis? Lindsay? Who's behind the hood? Who's behind the title there? Unmask yourselves. Everyone go follow Decipher on every podcast platform. Dennis, what's up, Dennis? Those of you that don't know, Dennis is a legend in cybersecurity media. He's been doing it since I was in the womb, I believe, Dennis, right? You're only a few years older than me, but yeah. I've known Dennis a long time. Dennis used to help Vulnerable You out when he was between gigs. Dennis is a legend. And Decipher does some really good podcast. Yo, Decipher, it seems like you're doing more with Decipher now than when you were with Cisco. You're doing all this stuff with Material. I was super psyched to see it. I meant to text you that. Are you coming to the Hackers movie thing? If so, how dare you not already be texting me about your plans to invade my city? Last stream, you said you push people to detection. Why is that? All right, simple reason. I can even pull up a good reason. Hold on. Here we go. You'll be in Austin. You'll text me. Sweet. That's like soon, right? I'll come. I'll come watch Hackers with you guys if I can make it out that night. All right. So my last gig is what really, really made me hot on detection engineering, threat detection engineering, and why I think this is going to be a valuable career path for a lot of people for a while. I think having AI chops as a detection engineer is going to be hyper important right now, so you don't get disrupted. But I think the skills needed to be a good detection engineer are going to be needed for a while. Here, I'll put this link in chat. But this is, I actually interviewed and hired Austin when I was there. I take no credit for this post or the work done in this post at all. Austin is a legend. He started rolling a lot of this detection stuff from scratch. We went through a bunch of different software vendors that do this stuff, and none of them were really good. And Austin was like, screw it, I'm going to do it myself. So the skills behind data pipelines, visibility, observability, and then those skills are rare and important, especially as you get into big software companies. And then you have to be good at that. And then you have to know about security stuff to be able to do threat detection on top of like observability, data handling, and pipeline stuff. So I push a lot of people in this direction because it's not like you don't have to be a very good engineer, right? A lot of people in security are scared to write code. Hopefully AI starts to change that. But you don't have to be like a hyper good engineer because you're not making a lot of like user facing code. So you could still be a little scrappy security engineer, right? Security engineers, not to say that security engineers aren't good engineers. It takes a lot of talent, but you know what I'm getting at, right? The difference between like user facing code versus like back of house code. You have a little bit of wiggle room, right? In certain areas. And then a lot of things are going very YAML and JSON, right? Which is like, this isn't really code. You know what I mean? Like you just got to kind of learn YAML, and they're more like config files than it really is engineering. But being able to do this kind of stuff, every company needs to be doing more of this detection engineering stuff, detections as code, security latching on to data pipelines and data teams. Not enough teams are doing this just in general. The best teams are doing this. And that's why I push people in this direction, because I think it's an under adopted skill set, which means it's a high paying skill set. I know some people that are doing detection engineering for big software companies making 7 figures. Like, just FYI, right? So it's a very lucrative skill set if you can do it at the highest level, because it's really undertrained. So when people ask me like, hey, how do I get into cybersecurity, or what kind of cybersecurity should I focus on? I try to push them in this direction. All right. Kind of just figured I'd yap while people got in here. Seems like we have a bit of a light crowd today. That's fine. I can do my song and dance. So we have a bad combination today, everybody. Okay, so I need some help. We have a bad combination of not that many of you in here chatting. I only got like 5 hours of sleep last night because I was up late coding, which is like the main way that I lose sleep these days. If I'm like 2 hours just evaporate if I'm sitting and banging on some code. So if it's like, oh, it's bedtime, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's 1 a.m. It's like, oh, how did that happen? So it's a bad combination for me to like be a good streamer, song and dance guy. Had to hype myself up to get on stream. So if I like get up and start like jumping around and doing that like viral Tai Chi exercise, I'm like, you guys know why now, okay? Trying to stay alive here. Let's start. You guys want to talk 0-day data? Dennis, I think you just tweeted this. I think literally I saw you tweet this, and it's why I pulled it up to talk on stream. So let me pull it up while you're here, because I don't know how long you're going to stay. But I fucking love reports like this. I love it. So Google Threat Intel has tons of data, about exploits and 0 days and all this kind of stuff that's going on. So much baseball season. Yo, I am flying early baseball season. I'm going to go catch a Cubs game at Wrigley. I think the Mets are in town, but I was going to go I was going to go see a friend for his birthday. He just moved to Chicago. And I was like, all right, I'm flying up. We're going to go watch a Cubs game. He's a Mets fan. So what up, Kilobyte? How you doing? All right. See, people are starting to trickle in here. Happy Thursday. Thursday's my crazy day. If you guys don't know, my newsletter goes out Friday morning and I stream on Thursday mornings. So I get off stream and I have to like put a few hours into my newsletter. Dennis, you know who's helping me with my, with some of the news articles now? I replaced you. I know it wasn't like, it was kind of like hard to justify those articles for a while, but I could text you why we're doing stuff a different way. But did you know who's helping me now? Did you see his announcement on some articles? And if things kind of keep going this direction, maybe I can talk you into helping some more on the side as well. But Mr. Bill Brenner comes into he'll probably be in chat. He might even be in chat lurking right now. But Mr. Bill, who I know you're super familiar with, has been helping behind the scenes. So Bill hangs out in my stream and stuff like this and helps kind of like make sure that I get written content for all the stuff that I yap about. It's kind of how he's been operating. I know you know Bill. We need a bald guy picture again this year. Maybe I shave my head for RSA so I can just be part of the crew. What do you think? All right, so I love reports like this. Let's get some emojis in chat for reports like this. This is me trying to be a normal streamer, even though I just yap about 0 days. I can confidently say I'm the only person on Twitch live streaming right now about the Google Threat Intelligence 0 day report. Yo, that is an awesome emoji to drop while talking about 0 days. is the Windows animated Windows emoji. All right, so basically everything on this blog by Google Threat Intel is mandatory reading, in my opinion. This is separate, I think, than their Mandiant group, right? They have like GTAG and then they have GTIG or something. I don't know. They're huge. So they've got the reason I love this is they've got access to data that virtually no one else has, right? At the scale of visibility that they have. So it's really cool. They've published the 2025, all the 0 days that they saw and tracked in 2025. So we can kind of trend, right? So the volume of 0 days is lower than the record high in 2023, which hit 100, 2024, 78, and remained within the 60-100 established over the previous 4 years, indicating a trend towards stabilization. In 2025, we continued to observe a structural shift. First identified in 2024 toward increased enterprise exploitation. The raw numbers, wait, what do we got? Oh, we have 90. I missed that. So we got 90 in 2025. So we're kind of like right in the sweet spot of what we're talking about in terms of 0 days exploited in the wild. I'm sorry, this is important clarification. This is not all vulnerabilities published in 2025. These are 0 days exploited in the wild through 2025. So these are the vulns that threat actors used to do all the nasty stuff that they did in that year. So this is why it's like important to track this stuff, because it's like what the hackers are actually doing, right? What up, Roman? Good to see you. So what's this? Both the raw numbers, 43 in proportion, 48% of vulnerabilities impacting enterprise technologies reached all-time highs. 50% of total 0 days exploited in 2025. Sustained decrease in detected browser-based exploitation, which fell to historic lows, while seeing increased use of operating system vulnerabilities. That's super interesting to me, right? Your goat's live. Super interesting to me because we were seeing a trend against, like away from OS vulnerabilities. Like OSs became harder to hack. Now it seems like browsers are maybe harder to hack and operating systems are kind of the new hotness again. That's a really, really interesting trend. I wonder why, right? I wonder, is like the Chrome sandbox, was it just like Chrome sandboxy things, did good sandboxy things? State-sponsored espionage group continue to prioritize edge devices. Yeah, this is, I was going to say, this whole line right here about enterprise technologies being half of all vulnerabilities exploited is almost entirely, I would guess, explained by this right here, right? Fortinet, Ivanti, what else? Like, who else was just zero-day factories this year, right? Fortinet and Ivanti jump out. But edge devices, I know Cisco is a little bit in there. I know Palo Alto is a little bit in there. I wouldn't really call them, zero-day factories, but those are definitely the big ones, right? Yo, these Windows emojis are sick. Who do you sub to get those? Or are those like those whatever? Added as RSS source to SecScan. Cool. Yeah, it's a high fidelity. It's a high fidelity RSS feed. I have like high and low fidelities. My Pokemon ones. All right. If anyone has any way that I can, I'm trying to figure out a way that I can be a streamer that gets sent a Switch 2 and the new Pokemon game. In which case, I will do a stream playing the new Pokemon game while answering hacking questions. We can talk about hacking, state-sponsored exploit kits against iOS while playing the new Pokemon game on a Switch 2. I don't have a Switch 2. I got to figure that out, all right? What, like, I know streamers get sent shit. It's not me. I got what, 9 people in here. I'm not that streamer, but trying to find a loophole. Hey, I think there's a market for this. People that watch my videos are like, highly compensated security engineers sometimes, right? You're famous. You see me with Palo. Yo, that Palo. So I got a bunch of Palo stuff going on right now. That team has been awesome to work with. They flew me out. We talked quantum with like the people that were, hold on, side note. The people that I was interviewing at Palo Alto Networks, they were just talking to, like the week before, Nobel Prize winners about quantum computing. Right? I was like the next person they talked to. I was like, oh man, like not the same level, right? But these were like the quantum computing and quantum security experts at Palo. I got to ask questions, and literally that whole event started. I ran, what did I do? Oh, we did like a live stream thing with Palo where they had some event live and they wanted to do like Manning cast, the Monday Night Football where Eli and Peyton do like talking head commentary over the game instead of the real game audio. They wanted like basically me to do that, right? With Caitlin and Ashish, where basically we did like reaction audio to some event they had live stream, and it went really, really well. We had a really, really good time, and it was basically like them kind of doing product announcements and us just kind of yapping over it. It was super, super fun, right? And then during that, like one of the product announcements was like about quantum security, right? And I literally was like, hey, I don't know enough about quantum computing, and that's why I'm glad that like experts at Palo Alto Networks are doing stuff, right? And like that was like kind of the joke I made. I was like, I'm too stupid to know a damn thing about quantum computing, right? I know enough about like what a qubit is and like why it's going to exponentially change things in math and blah, blah, blah. But I was like, I don't really know. I can't pretend to be an expert. But so I said that, they all laughed and they were like, I think we need to do a second event just about quantum because even security experts don't know enough about quantum. So literally this whole second event that they flew me out there for was because I was an idiot the first time. right? So that's kind of funny. Yes, they had me in hair and makeup. Yeah. Anyway, the whole thing. But no, it was really cool. I honestly, like, you know, sponsored stuff is like whatever sponsored stuff is. I am fortunate enough to be able to like be picky about my sponsors. They didn't force me to take my hat off. I took my hat off. I was trying to be a little bit more professional. I just, you know, I've got the unk hairline, so I got to be a hatfish in my own domain over here. I was like, I'll be a little professional. I'll put the boots on and take the hat off. When you have like that much money of like camera equipment and crews in the room, it feels like you got to like respect it a little bit. So sponsored stuff is sponsored stuff, but I get to be picky about my sponsors, right? I'm like sold out through Q2 on sponsorships right now, right? So like, I'm not bragging. I'm just saying things are going well, and I don't sell that many sponsored slots. I limit it. I'm not like turning into a walking billboard. And so like that was like such a cool event. Palo Alto has been like using me in like really interesting and cool ways. Speaking of, I have a video, it should be coming out today, that's like going through their Unit 42 like threat intel report, kind of like this Google one that we're about to talk about. It's like all the threat intel data that they have of incident response from last year. They put out a report out, and they were like, "Hey, can you go through this on YouTube?" And I did, and it came out great. I'm like really excited for you guys to see it because it kind of squarely hit a lot of my expertise too. So anyway, I've got like multiple things flying around right now with Palo. Literally 2 different teams at Palo. They didn't even realize that they were both working with me at the same time. Like this whole quantum thing and then this whole Unit 42 thing. It's kind of funny how like I'm talking to a bunch of people, multiple deliverables in the same week, and they don't even know what's going on. And I'm doing stuff on site with them at RSA right now. So they've like fallen in love with me. And honestly, it's a good fit. Right? Like Unit 42 is awesome. I think I have a Unit 42 post we're going to cover on live stream today, right? Incident response data. It's all sorts of stuff. So anyway, super cool. I hope you guys like it. I hope, I try to pay the bills around here without being too, cringy. I tell all my sponsors, don't use me as a billboard. I'm a fucking expert in this space. I know your product better than people on your team do. Like, use me. Like, use me as an expert talking about whatever it is that you do that's cooler than anyone else. And I think people are starting to get that, right? So they're like, yeah, let's fucking talk quantum and let's talk incident response instead of like, let's talk, product announcement about some new AI feature, which has happened in the past. I try to keep the cringy shit to a minimum, pay my bills, give you guys valuable stuff that like I'm actually an expert in. Anyway, you said Palo, and I got distracted. Sorry, guys. Let's get back to some 0-day data. What's up, BJJ and Brown Coyote? Good to see you guys. Thanks for coming back. I recognize your names. What'd you say, Walrus? Sorry, Zscaler employs a couple cryptographers that are going after post-quantum cryptography. They gave some great talks. Yeah. So a lot of the post-quantum cryptography stuff that we covered in that event, a lot of my questions about it were like, how real is this, right? Like what year do we need to worry about this crap, right? Like quantum computers are barely real. And so like one of my key takeaways was like the number of qubits, that's basically the number to track about how real quantum computing is getting, is like the number of effective qubits in quantum computers that are out there in production. It's going up. The math is like converging though. It's like the number of qubits in a working quantum computer, they thought we were going to need to hit like 1 million. But I might be wrong on these numbers because memory, but they thought that like to really affect security, we would need 1 million qubit quantum computer, right? And so the qubit is going up, but then the math is like going in a different direction where actually we would be able to break encryption with less and less qubits as they figure it out, right? So it's like they thought we would need 1 million. Now it's like 100,000 or something like that, right? So there's just like this convergence of the number of qubits is actually going up, and the number that we think we would need to like break RSA is going down, right? Yeah. Max, welcome. I don't recognize your name. Welcome to the channel. Yeah, that was the other thing I actually learned from this was like there is different qualities of qubits. It's like, oh, I didn't realize, right? Like this is where my expertise started to dissolve. Is like, oh, there's like better qubits than other qubits, right? So there's like how long they're in the same state. There's not just how long they're in the same state. There's like completely different architectures, right? Like the D-Wave quantum computer is doing something completely different than some of the Google quantum computers and like more traditional ones. They're like completely different things. How do you test that? Is it real? Jump to the future. Yeah. So it's kind of speculation, but it's a lot of it is math, right? It's just math. So it's like how hard computationally can you make some of these things for the advantage that quantum computers have against traditional like RSA or whatever encryption, right? So the like post-quantum crypto is real. It can't be tested, effectively against, a pile of qubits, but like the math is what's checking out, right? And that's why people are winning Nobel Prizes on this stuff because they're like coming away with breakaways. Yeah, you thought it was all the same, Roman. 5 years remain. Yeah. 5 is like a pretty good bet. Anyway, go. If you guys don't follow me on LinkedIn, I posted it on LinkedIn. They're doing like a live event for it. I ask all these questions and we talk about kind of Q Day, and we talk about like what security teams need to do to like get ready for all of it, right? So there's this whole like store now, decrypt later stuff of like once crypto gets like broken by the quantum computers, that's Q Day. And so if people are storing a bunch of information now, like secrets and stuff that maybe it can't be rotated, that like, okay, the encryption now being broken then is an issue, right? The other bit that I realized was, harvest now, decrypt later. The other one that they said was trust now, forge later. And I thought this was interesting because I never thought about this. I thought like the encryption part was like the main threat. The other thing, we just pushed all sorts of people to, why do I still have this 0 day thing on screen? We just pushed all sorts of people to zero trust, right? So we minted all these certificates to like hardware identify computers on the network. So we don't treat anyone on any device on a network as privileged, right? That's the whole zero trust mantra. And the way you do that is with this like hardware certificate based trust system. Well, guess what? Those certs get broken too. Like the math that created those certs, like gets broken also. Like all the keys get broken in that whole pile too. So this like harvest now, decrypt later was the thing that I had in my mind. I had never heard of trust now, forge later, which means like, oh, quantum computers are going to also break a lot of certificate based authentication, which we just spent the last effing decade, pushing people towards certificate stuff, right? Will the broader industry be forced to be reliant on a small set of companies to support quantum? So yes and no, right? So like that was my assumption, Roman, was like, hey, I'm not gonna worry about this because like the people that run the internet are gonna worry about this, right? Like the backbone of the internet companies, like I don't worry about TLS right now. You know what I mean? I just worry that I'm using TLS. I don't worry about like, is TLS gonna be broken right now, right? That's not me. That's backbone of the internet. That's, the Googles, the Cloudflares, the Palo Alto networks, like these backbone companies, right? They all sit on a council, right? I've met the guys at Akamai that like sat on the committee to like, design TLS 1.2 and 1.3 and all this kind of stuff, right? There's literally these committees of these people that work at these like backbone of the internet companies that design this stuff. So I thought, okay, whatever. I'm not going to worry about it. Just like I don't worry about TLS 1.3. The thing is, where quantum gets a lot different is you use crypto in all sorts of little nooks and crannies in your systems that like it's up to you to figure out like all the stuff that you need to figure out there, right? So that's where it starts to like really turn into like an us problem is like, okay, what's our inventory? Like we don't even have a good inventory about software that we have installed. That's been like, that was a hot topic for the last decade. And anywhere I go and like help consult or whatever, they're really, really bad at like even knowing what they have installed where, right? That's where, you know, we were just talking about threat detection. Like when I started the stream, like observability and visibility, that's the shit, you know, what's installed where is like a really hard question to answer for a lot of people. Now go a layer deeper. What cryptographic algorithms and cipher suites are being used where? You know what I mean? It's going to be a way harder, way harder question to answer for a lot of people. To be able to like, so that's why everyone's kind of sounding the alarm now. It's like, hey, maybe we got about 5 years to worry about this, but it might take you a few years to really, really get that inventory ready, right? So it's like, start now, get your inventory ready. What, you know, get the observability in place so you know what cryptographic algorithms are used where in your environment or in your application or whatever it is. And then like when the shit goes off, you can roll to the better algorithms, right? All modern browsers right now already support post-quantum crypto algorithms, right? So like that's where the stuff you don't have to worry, right? Like Chrome is already updated. Chrome's got it. Like Chrome can support post-quantum crypto in your web traffic. It's all this other stuff, right? How many places are OpenSSL used? That's why OpenSSL vulns get crazy priority because it's just everywhere, right? There's so much middleware being used in so many places that things really start to go off the rails. Firefox, absolutely. All modern browsers support post-quantum crypto already, right? So like that's a huge like, okay, everyone just chill on that. It's just all this other stuff. You are a cryptographic expert. Yes, we're going to have agents be the crypto experts. All right, what other data? Did you guys read this report? This came out today, so I don't know who read it this morning. I guess I could make a video about it. I don't know. We'll see. Complexity drives higher mobile vulnerability accounts. Mobile 0 days count fluctuated over the last 3 years, dropping from 17 to 9 and then 15 in 2025. So that's what I thought maybe they meant when they said operating systems rebounded. I was like, oh, maybe mobile is part of it. You use me to know what's going on. Yeah, I don't think you're alone. In some cases, attackers have increased the number of chained vulnerabilities just to reach desired levels of access. Yeah, we saw this a lot in iOS this year. I have a much deeper dive after this. We'll cover on some iOS exploit kits that came out. Conversely, threat actors have managed successful exploitation with fewer or singular bugs targeting lower levels of access, such as application or service. Enterprise software and edge devices remain prime. Yeah, I'm guessing this is like Fortinet and Ivanti and Cisco and all that kind of shit, right? VPNs, edge devices, firewalls, stuff like this. Networking and security appliances. Yep. Commercial surveillance vendors. Come on. CSV is already a spoken for acronym. Please don't do this to me. Further reduce barriers to zero-day access. For the first time since we began tracking zero-day exploitation, we attributed more zero days to commercial surveillance vendors than to traditional state-sponsored cyber espionage group. Whoa. That's huge. So this means like what's the company that runs Pegasus? My coffee hasn't kicked in yet. This illustrates the expansion of zero-day access to zero-day exploitation via these vendors to a wider array of customers than ever before. So that means like commercial spyware vendors beat out nation-state cyber espionage groups in 0 days exploited in the wild for the first time. That's huge. Yeah, Israel is where one or two of the big ones are for sure. I don't think they have a monopoly on it, but yeah. PRC. What's the name? What's the name of the damn company? Paragon, Pegasus, Brain. NSO Group. Jesus Christ. Got there. NSO is probably where a lot of that comes from. We'll see. PRC, cyber espionage groups continue to dominate traditional space sponsor. Yeah. So China on volume is always going to win. Zero-day exploitation by financially motivated groups ties previous high. 9 0 days tied to financially motivated groups. What's up, Frank? Thanks for the subscription. Welcome. So yeah, this is rare, right? Because like a lot of 0 days are expensive to develop or purchase. So they're generally used in nation state, state-sponsored, highly targeted spyware situations, all this kind of stuff. When you're saying financially motivated threat groups, this is cybercrime. So burning 0 days 9 times in 2025, cybercrime used 0 days. So 9 of 90, so 10% of 0 days spotted in the wild were used for financial motivated groups, not nation state. That's huge. Tel Aviv all new office coming soon? No, I don't think so. Unless I get a big. If you guys see that happen, here's I'm gonna be super honest with you. If someone says they're gonna write me a check with just so many zeros on it to buy Vulnerable You. Yep. Tel Aviv vol new office, absolutely all day. You got it right. Might be a few more zeros, but no, I'm just kidding. China is mostly focused on industrial espionage. No, there are more manufacturers than banks. China kind of does everything, man. I wouldn't say more focused on industrial espionage. They kind of do it all. I went to a spyware and cybercrime conference last year of people who track a lot of this stuff, and they even are tracking like a pretty prolific financially motivated cybercrime group out of China, which seems to be like at least tolerated by the government there. Roman, just being honest, man. I do not come from money. So if someone is like, here's your ticket out of the permanent underclass, you best know I'm going to punch it. You best know. You best know I'm going to punch that ticket. Yeah. Anyone who tells you otherwise is full of baloney. You to put that more on North Korea. So interesting. North Korea is almost entirely focused on crypto stealing. Right. So they are so heavily sanctioned by the world. They have a really hard time participating in the world government. So they do a ton. Their government state sponsored like activity is go steal crypto. Some espionage, but the espionage is generally extortionate, not in like, oh, we're stealing your corporate secrets, because they don't really like have the ability to put into action a lot of that. Right. They don't have like the industrial capability of China, right? China can go steal the plans to the F-35 because they've got the ability to spin up a whole fucking city full of people and start pumping out jets, right? North Korea doesn't have that. North Korea is just literally trying to fund parts of their government by stealing crypto, and they do very well. Lazarus out of North Korea steals about $3 to $5 billion in crypto over the last couple of years. India through Swift network. Yeah. But I think even that is on small scale compared to the Ethereum that they stole over the last couple of years. They do billions with an S at the end in crypto theft every year. I've got a video on my page. Max, I don't know. I think you're new to stream. If you're not, I'm sorry, I don't recognize your name, but thanks for hanging out and chatting. I've got 2 videos on my page all about North Korea and their focus, especially around HR practices. Oh, you created that blog? Cool. I'll pull it up later if we've got time. AI changes the game. So I think more people are coming around to this reality, right? I've even seen some people who were like staunch AI haters, especially when it came to like vulnerability research and stuff like that, are literally posting this week like, I was wrong. This shit's going to get real, right? AI is finding 0 days. So the main thing here, there's kind of 2 main things to worry about when it comes to AI in 0 day stuff. And I'm guessing the data is going to back this up, is speed, right? So speed to exploitation, speed from when a vulnerability becomes public to when an exploit is developed, is crazy. What's up, Bill? I got you. So speed is the number 1. Number 2 is we're lowering the skill bar, right? So like right now to develop like a 0 day against like a modern piece of software that could be used in some of these exploit kits is an incredibly special skill set, right? That's why these things cost millions of dollars to go buy a 0 day on the market. That skill bar is going to continue to dive down, right? Cloud security is the best thing to happen. It's going to be, but Max, I think it's going to get worse before it gets better, right? Like the good guys or the maintainers of projects are going to be slower than the people that are out there using this stuff to find vulnerabilities, right? But I agree. I think long term, I'm super optimistic. Because a lot of this stuff is just going to be hyper fast, right? The vulns are going to be discovered and fixed kind of in the same foul swoop with Claude or something like Claude Code. And there's not going to be this lag time that attackers can take advantage of right now, right? I know bug bounty hunters right now that are running Claude Code overnight on a bunch of their data, and they're finding crits and they're printing tens of thousands of dollars in bug bounties just from Claude Code while they sleep. If you're a bug bounty hunter and you're not fucking with Claude Code, you are missing out right now. Brickstorm was probably one of the crazier things that happened in 2025 that I think is just under talked about, though. We're already stewing in a cesspool of vulnerabilities. Totally. I completely agree, Max. And like to the point when all the stocks dipped because Cloud Security came out, all the cybersecurity stocks dipped. And I was like, oh, nobody understands anything, right? It's like, oh, you think that we have a tool that can find more vulnerabilities and that is going to like annihilate cybersecurity? It's like, you don't know anything about why we don't fix these vulnerabilities. I've had no problem finding vulnerabilities in my life, right? It's the like getting the shit fixed is crazy, right? I think Claude can help there too. I think enough companies aren't even touching this stuff that it's going to be a while. It's going to be a lagging indicator. That's why I'm saying it's going to get way worse before it gets better. I ran a team at one of the largest banks in the world doing vulnerability management. Basically all vulnerability identification and remediation ran through my team. And to put the skill gap in perspective, this was only a few years ago, 90 plus people on this team. I don't think anybody on my team, they were a great team, super bright, like was lucky to have them. They were hyper good at doing what they did in that environment because a bunch of them had worked there for a really long time. I don't think anyone on that team had seen GitHub. Never mind, like, you know what I mean? Like the skill gap, like between these environments, it's going to take a long time. I'm sure a lot of you work in corporate America. It's not like at your day job, everyone is slinging Claude Code already, right? Like you go on Twitter, you get a really weird skewed view of everything. If you guys don't know about Brickstorm, it was a very sneaky malware put out by China that targeted security appliances, which don't traditionally have the ability for you to put your monitoring software on it. Basically, you can't install EDR on an appliance box that's sitting on your network. It's like a black box. It's sitting on your network. You can't update it. You can't change the code of that thing, right? Brickstorm targeted those devices because you couldn't have the visibility into them. And because you couldn't have the visibility into them, and this was a super stealthy malware, they were seeing dwell times of like 350 to 400 days before this malware was found. Google and Mandiant put out like a tool to scan your network for Brickstorm, and they were like, oh my God, it's going to be a bloodbath when people start running this scanner. So this is one of the most significant pieces of malware in 2025, pretty under talked about, right? Instead of just exfiltrating sensitive client data, the threat actors targeted intellectual property from the victim companies, potentially including source code. Yeah, this was just like quiet malware that sat on like appliances on the network that a lot of traffic went through, and was just super stealthy and just sat there and exfiltrated stuff for a long time. Didn't pivot, didn't worm, didn't self-replicate, didn't do anything destructive, just sat there for a long time. This is a really good, go read it. I covered this pretty heavily on my channel at the time, but I think overall under talked about. Scope. This report describes what we know about zero-day exploitation, defines zero-day vulnerability that was maliciously exploited in the wild before a patch was made publicly available. So they're talking about vulns that were exploited as a zero-day. What's up, Portbusters? Welcome to the stream. Research in this space is dynamic. Okay. So numbers by the years. We're kind of stabilizing, it seems, right? Since 2021. Seems like we're going to deal with about 60 to 100 zero days in the wild every year, right? So honestly, and in my jobs, for jobs that I've had in the past, I'd say this is pretty accurate for like number of critical vulnerabilities that you wind up chasing down in a year. So it's not quite the same thing as like 0 days in the wild being exploited, but like this is kind of the sweet spot. If you're like building a team or running a team, this is kind of what you're looking down the barrel of, right? It's just like, hey, we're going to have about 100, about 75 vulns that like we need to be tooled and ready to respond to. If that makes sense. Yeah, Opus 4.6 is like gnarly. If you're new to the stream, I've talked a lot about it. We talked to Dan Guido from Trail of Bits, who literally built a tool that won like $3 million in prizes because it was so good at finding and fixing vulnerabilities in open source code back in August at DEF CON. And he even publicly said that Opus 4.6 out of the box with nothing, no skills, no plugins, was better than his tool that won that contest back in whatever. So yeah, we've seen an exponential increase in AI's ability to find and fix vulnerabilities over the last 6 months. It's insane jump. That skill jump has not trickled down into shit like this yet. Like these stats do not take that into account, right? Do not take that into account. All right, enterprise exploitation, desktop OS. Oh, okay. See, I thought it was going to be mostly mobile. It is. They said desktop is actually the big one. That's kind of surprising. What's making noise? Stop making noise. I think LinkedIn messages are making noise. Stop that. I'm in D&D, but some random browser tab is making noise. All right. Do they call out the actual vendors? Not really. I wish they did, but they don't. Right? So they're like, these vulnerabilities made up half we kind of know, right? We kind of know what's going on. A lack of input validation, the absence of EDR on these edge devices. So they're talking like Brickstorm, the Brickstorm stuff here, totally. High profile exploitation. Half of the track 0 days were used to exploit end user platforms, including operating systems, mobile devices, and browsers. Interesting. Here it is. They do talk about it. Okay. So 0 day exploitation by vendor. You got Microsoft. That's going to be the desktop OS, right? Apple's going to be the mobile OS. Google's going to be the mobile OS and Chrome, probably. And then here comes the enterprise software that I called, that everyone was going to have, right? OBS white on white. Oh, chat. Yeah. It's hard to read chat up top. Yeah, it's a good call. I can figure out how to change that. Cisco, Fortinet, Ivanti. I forgot VMware. I called these three out before I even scrolled down. Injection, deserialization, memory corruption, access control, logic flaws. Who's driving it? Commercial spyware beat out nation state, which is this chunk. 7 from China, 3 unknown, 1 Russia, 1 UAE. Likely commercial spyware, definitely commercial spyware, likely state-sponsored. And then cybercrime, 9. That's crazy that cybercrime had 9. This is usually not the area that they dabble in, right? It's expensive. So that means that they're able to get payouts that justify it, right? Nearly double the 5 0 days we attributed to financially motivated attackers in 2024. Actors sent a high volume of emails to executives at numerous organizations alleging the theft of sensitive data from Oracle Business Suite. A lot of this is Clop. Yeah, Clop is super successful. That's interesting. So it's like Russia-backed cybercrime. So they are cybercrime, but I think they might have a bit of a government behind them, right? Browser sandbox escapes the discovery analysis of those identified this year. None were generic to the browser sandbox itself. None? Instead, these sandbox escapes were specifically designed to exploit components of either underlying operating system or hardware used. Interesting. So it's Chrome sandbox on Windows. So not to the browser itself. Android runtime system. Interesting. That's super interesting. This is a good trend for browser security, right? SonicWall full chain collected a multi-stage exploit for SonicWall. The exploit chain leveraged multiple vulnerabilities to provide either authenticated or unauthenticated RCE as root on a SonicWall appliance. Why are they calling this out? It's just a multi-chain thing, so that's interesting. All right. Anyway, go read the rest of this report. This is super, I love this kind of data. It tells us exactly what the most sophisticated attacker. I know sophisticated gets overused in cybersecurity news and reporting. These are the most sophisticated attackers that we're dealing with, right? If they're using 0 days, they're burning 0 days before the patch even comes out. Water break. Thanks for the reminder. I am just chugging coffee. Thank you. All right. I want to talk about this iOS exploit. iOS exploit kit. Again, Google talked about it first, but I've also got this other iVerify bit to talk about. Open water? Yeah, I guess. These are pretty popular in Austin. I see them everywhere. I like that they're not plastic bottles too. I don't know, if that's actually better or not, but all right. So this is there's a few reasons why this bit is interesting, right? So number one is that this was an exploit kit developed by nation states, but then kind of trickled down into the rest of the cybercrime ecosystem, right? So it tracked its use in highly targeted operations initially conducted by a customer of a surveillance vendor, then observed its deployment in watering hole attacks targeting Ukraine users by a Russian espionage group, then retrieved the complete exploit kit when it was later used in broad-scale campaigns by a financially motivated actor in China. So this proliferation, how this proliferation occurred is unclear, but it suggests an active market for secondhand zero-day exploits. That's what makes this kind of interesting, right? Not a sponsor yet. Open water for your finest non-plastic water needs. It's what plants crave. Yeah, no, I don't see any of that happening anytime soon. So this is one of the shout out keeping your iOS up to date, and also your if you're really super paranoid, lockdown mode stopped this as well. And I'll show you why we know that. So it goes all the way back to January 2024, but we're seeing exploitation as recent as December, just 3 months ago, in fake Chinese gambling websites stealing crypto wallets. Okay. So we can go through the whole exploit thing here. I don't know. It's pretty heavy, right? But in summer 2025, we noticed the same JavaScript framework hosted on this website as a hidden iframe on many compromised Ukraine websites, ranging from industrial equipment and retail tools to local services and e-commerce sites. The framework was only delivered to iPhones from users from a specific geolocation. So it became it was developed by spyware, used by Russian government against Ukraine, then used in Chinese scam websites. So this is we don't usually see this, right? Even in the report that we just showed, a lot of those a lot of that zero-day data was developed and used by the same party, right? You don't see this proliferation a whole lot. So zooming out, so iVerify also covered this because they've been tracking them. iVerify is a great mobile security company out there. Zooming out, if you don't know what what we're talking about and what this whole exploit kit is, I think it's interesting to see this stuff bounce around, but just to give you guys a little bit of a background, right? This is pretty much enterprise grade software, which under the hood has a bunch of different exploits that the customers of this software could use to hack into iPhones, all the way up through 17.2.1. So 17.3 kills a bunch of these exploits, okay? Proliferation would make sense if it was state-sponsored and a high priority. Yeah, but we're talking spyware vendor to Russia to be used against Ukraine to China financially motivated hacker, not APT, fake gambling websites, right? Yes, it is web browser. So it's not zero click. This isn't Pegasus level shit, right? This isn't send a text message. You don't have to do anything and your phone is owned. You got to go to a website. So they got to get you on a website. But if you go to a website that has these exploits on it and you meet all their criteria, we'll get to it. They have it's a really the researchers talking about this are talking about it reverently, right? They're like, whoa, this is very well engineered exploit kit. So they've got these exploits under the hood that exploits vulnerabilities in a bunch of these operating systems. And 17.2.1 is not that old, right? Like, when did 17.3 come out? Was that just on this timeline? Oh, I guess it's kind of old. January 2024. I thought 17 was a bit newer than that, but it's not that long ago. Furthermore, it confirms the mobile threat landscape is not standing still. Okay. A couple weeks ago, we discovered a suspicious-looking domain. Accessing the domain with an iPhone on iOS 16, we observed the domain hosted a set of exploits. Over the course of the last week, we extracted as much of the exploits and implants as possible. One-click exploit chain consisted of remote code execution in Safari, local privilege escalation exploit, allowing attackers to take control over the infected device. Internally, we called the exploit kit Crypto Waters, as it contained a set of modules targeting cryptocurrency wallets deployed in a waterhole attack. The same exploit chain was also observed by Google. They called it Karuna, and it was used by a Russian threat actor in Ukraine. So this is unique. This doesn't happen with these exploit kits, just so you guys know, right? They talk about how they reverse engineered it. We don't have to get too far into like the reverse engineering stuff. Initial stage, better name. Which one? Karuna or Crypto Waters? I kind of like Crypto Waters. The initial stage was Safari RCE, which is nuts, right? Rare that these kinds of vulns pop up. Navigator.platform. These are the APIs, right? Navigator max touch points, window touch event property. Running in the context of Safari, Apple WebKit, Web SQL support. The initial stage is checking for these touch points in the right context, and it also checks if you have lockdown mode enabled. Yeah, you guys like Crypto Waters better too? Yeah, me too. So see, like I said, the actual exploit kit checks if you have lockdown mode on your iPhone enabled. How many people in chat currently have lockdown mode turned on? Just give me a shout. Drop something in chat if you have lockdown mode on your iOS device turned on. Oh no, this is different than Brickstorm. This is Karuna, is Crypto Waters. Brickstorm's a totally different malware. Crypto Waters / Karuna is iOS. Brickstorm is more focused on security appliances. Local privilege escalation checks for the presence of Corellium virtual. Oh, so they're checking if you're a security researcher, basically. If you're using a virtualized environment, it'll back off, right? It doesn't want to be analyzed. Crash logs related to the previous activities. Crash logs of interest. So PowerD and Panic are interesting here. PowerD because it's not directly involved in the exploitation, but it's used as a host for the first implant, and Panic because those would be resulting in a restart of the device. Got the coffee, missed the segue. Yeah. It's, well, honestly, I went from Google Blog to Google Blog. They just put out 2 bangers this week. But this is an iOS exploit kit one. The other one was just their 2025 0-day data, which they just highlighted Brickstorm as part of one of the major 0 days that they exploited. But yeah, now this iOS exploit kit, they put out a bunch of research on, and now I'm on this iVerify blog because iVerify is a mobile security company who tracked all this stuff, right? Yeah, it's anti-malware analysis. John sees it a lot. Yeah, totally. It's common. It's super common. Where are we at? Where was I? Just catching people up. Here. Panic because those would be resulting in a restart of the device and it would have to be re-exploited. So yeah, by the way, if you don't restart your mobile devices ever, recommend you start doing it somewhat regularly. Most exploits out there have a really hard time surviving a restart. Also, restarting puts your phone in like a different state. So if you're ever like, I turn my phone off when I'm going through airport security or crossing a border because it doesn't allow it disables biometrics. So say Border Patrol wanted to hassle me for whatever reason. It happens a lot when I travel. I think it probably because I talk a lot about hacking. I get the special border treatment. If they wanted to like compel me to open my phone for anything, if I restart it, if it's off, they can't, Face ID doesn't work as it turns on, or like any biometrics don't work. You got to enter your password and they can't compel you to type your password. It also breaks a whole lot of like the Celebrite, like stuff that law enforcement has to like plug into your phone to like take a copy of it. If it's off, none of that will work the first time it's turned on until you type your password in. It like puts it in a special state. So exploits have a hard time surviving, and like use of spyware upon reboot is hard. So if you're ever in a sensitive situation, just turn your phone off. It'll really help. All right, so this goes into a lot of the details of the actual exploit, initial exploit, and then privilege escalation. This implant checks with the command and control servers. An HTTP head message subsequently receives a config file. Retrieve the same configuration. These modules depend on the installed apps on the device. Implant will check the targeted process is running. Basically, everyone who's analyzed this said, holy crap, it's like really well engineered. So this is like as good as mobile malware gets, from what I can tell. Reboot your phone when you brush your teeth. That's a good, have you read Atomic Habits? That's a good habit stack, right? That's what he calls them. Hey, no one answered. So do 0 people in chat have lockdown mode turned on? I would not be surprised. I have had lockdown mode turned on in the past. It makes your phone a lot worse. But if you're a targeted individual, it makes a whole lot of sense. You've never touched it? Roman, give it a shot. Just turn it on so you can see what I'm talking about. Shit just doesn't work. It's kind of interesting how much it strips out. Oh, you're on Android. Oh, no worries. It when you turn your phone in lockdown mode, it like breaks a whole lot. Android might have released something similar. Is it like the product called Bricked? No, it's not like actually locking anything. It just removes a lot of stuff that is common for mobile 0 days to be found in. So a lot of like web fonts and image processing, a lot of like dynamic content, like cute features in iMessage just like don't work. Like if you go to a website, a lot of like JavaScript and dynamic content won't load. It's just like kind of all these kind of underlying bits of code that are more aesthetic and user experience. And it just like nukes a bunch of it. Basically use your PIN or password. Don't do it. Yeah. It's like, for me, it's super interesting. It was an interesting experiment to run. I was like, oh, I'm going to use lockdown mode for a little while. And then like, you're like, man, no. Like I bought this expensive iPhone for all the bells and whistles and like, I just turned them all off, you know? It's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of weird. All All right, so the Karuna exploit kit, similar to what Google posted on their blog post, we were able to retrieve the configuration files, but we can see that these modules and the Karuna exploit kit are in active development. So this is surprising, right? Because the vulns used in this kit were patched in January 2024, and they're still under active development, right? S. Robertson. Hey, only found your channel by looking up prompt injection for LinkedIn. Some good content. Well, cool. Hey, welcome. Thanks for hanging out. Drop a subscribe. I talk a lot about prompt injection. I have 2 videos in the pipe right now that I recorded while on live stream on Tuesday. One was about prompt injection in the Perplexity browser, and the other one was about not prompt injection, but exploiting Gemini baked into Chrome in similar ways. So even people who don't use AI browsers are getting forced to use AI in their browser. So if you like that stuff, drop a subscribe. We'd love to have you. And I talk endlessly about it. Prompt injection is not going away for a while. So the fact that these exploit kits are in active development is wild, right? If the vulns are old. So in our cases, we also found modules for ImageNT and WhatsApp. A full list of these captured modules would be at the bottom of this post. All right. Most of the modules will either use process-dependent user agent or the following static one. So there's your IOC. Subbed. Why did my alert not work? Streamlabs. I have an alert that's supposed to go off if you subscribe. It went off earlier. That's weird. Dumb Streamlabs. Detecting this. At first detection, both processes, ImageNT and PowerD, do not communicate over the network with user agents observed in the malware samples. All right. So if you guys are threat hunting, here's all this stuff. Streamlabs is like it's super common streamer automation stuff. Oh, you did okay, cool. About an hour ago. Cool. Well, still glad to have you. Streamlabs like ties into Stream and does like automation and alert type stuff. So if you guys subscribe or donate, or on Twitch, if you like gift subs or do bits or whatever, a bunch of stuff will go off. Streamlabs is the tool that ties in and does all that. It's got like the overlays and whatnot. It's kind of, I really don't like any of the software that I need to use for Stream. Streamlabs is kind of annoying. Yeah, see, there you go. Capture flags, not fields, is now following. Welcome. There you go. Streamlabs, demonstration in real time. One bit. See, Roman just tossed a penny my way, and the alert went off. There you go. Streamlabs. Streamlabs and OBS are both pretty crappy pieces of stuff. Oh, Roman, I'm not trolling you. You don't have to donate any bits. Don't worry about it. And yeah, here are the IOCs. So if you're into threat hunting, I'll put this will all be in my newsletter. I'll probably do a video about this. Is this worth a YouTube video? Do you think anyone would fucking watch this? My YouTube videos aren't getting any views lately. Dan Meisler told me, hey man, no one cares about security. That's why. He's like, that's why your YouTube's not doing good. No one gives a shit about security. I was like, oh man, I am fucked. Oh wait, okay, hey, before I spent a lot of time on the iVerify blog. Hot take on both major streaming solutions. Hey, they're bad pieces. I don't know what to tell you. They're bad pieces of software. I think it's like hard. It's a hard problem to solve. You know, a lot of video stuff, but oh yeah. So back on the Google blog, here's an actual example of one of the exploit in some of the websites. So you got these Chinese scam websites using this really sophisticated exploit kit that was developed by spyware and used by governments is now in Chinese scam websites. So that's why we can like start to really dig into it. So a pop-up on a fake cryptocurrency exchange website trying to drive users to the exploit, meaning if you go to it not on an iOS device, it's like, hey, by the way, this website's best used on iOS. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. No iOS exploit under the hood here or anything, right? And then they obfuscate it. Obfuscate exploits, payloads, further analysis, blah, 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 right? So here's some of the stuff that happens. The kit performs the following unique actions. If it detects lockdown mode, it just hits the eject button. Or if you're in private browsing, that's interesting. Does private browsing stop some of the things that are used in this exploit? I didn't think private browsing would stop anything. That's interesting. It gives you a unique cookie. Resources are referred to by hash. RCE and pack bypasses are delivered unencrypted. The kit contains a binary loader, have unique metadata served from URLs that end in minified.js, are encrypted using cha-cha-20, packaged in a custom file format, compressed, blah, blah, blah. All right. Guys, if you're into malware reverse engineering, these blogs are gold for you. If you're into threat hunting, these blogs are gold for you. You got IOCs, you got all sorts of stuff. So, all right. Basically, main takeaway, everybody, update your fucking iPhones. Jeez, man. This update came out in January 2024, and people are getting popped by it right now. Every time, you guys know when I make those videos, right? You guys watch my shorts. I make those videos when like I see that Apple drops an update, and in the update they say, hey, we've got exploits in the wild that we've noticed, and that's why we're dropping this update. I make a video when I see that because I'm like, hey, everyone, I know we all ignore our updates like for way too long, right? Because you don't want to like install it. You don't want to, restart your device, whatever it is. If I see active exploitation, that's why this update is dropping. I say, oh, okay, guys, like let's everyone drop what we're doing and go restart our phone really quick, right? When I make those videos, do you guys understand how many effing comments I get that are people like, I'm on like the oldest iPhone possible because I like my fingerprint to be used, so I can't use this. Or people are like, I refuse to update because every update makes my phone perform worse, or whatever it is, right? Like there's always an excuse. People are like, nah, I don't do iPhone updates. Exhausting. Guys, for some reason I made a Facebook page to like cross-post my Instagram reels. The comments that I get on Facebook, are just like, hey, everyone, we're good. People are worried about cybersecurity like disappearing as an industry. Go read my Facebook comments. No, of course don't believe the trolls. I'm just saying, like, no, these are not trolls. These are like, there's trolls. I know what trolls are. There are people that just like refuse. They're like, no, I'm not buying a new iPhone. I'm on an iPhone so old I can't run the most modern operating system because from my cold dead hands, am I going to buy a new iPhone? The forbidden lands of the last dying brain cells, McBedden. Oh my gosh, so accurate. I don't understand. My videos do well on Facebook. I do not understand why. Because the comments are just like, oh man. Seriously. We should pull some up. Super funny. New Mac. I love the direction that Mac is going just in general. I think the Mac Mini, I mean, besides OpenClaw, like OpenClaw kind of went viral and Mac Minis went nuts. We're running off a Mac Mini right now, and I bought this before OpenClaw was a thing, right? I don't even think I can lift it up. I think the Mac Mini is the best bang for buck hardware powerhouse that you can get right now, right? I think I upgraded it a few times on stuff. So maybe I paid a little over $1,000 for mine, but it goes down to $600. That $600 Mac Mini is by far the best computer you can get for $600 by a long shot, And now they put out the Neo for $600. I was thinking about buying I have a niece in college. I was like, should I buy her a Neo? This thing looks sick. I think Apple's doing really, really well to like kind of come down on performance per price and then have the expensive stuff for the enthusiasts. I think it's a great direction. And yeah, the M5 looks freaking insane. My whole like I'm in a group chat with a bunch of cybersecurity founders here in Austin. We got like 40 of us in there. Just really some of the brightest people on the planet live here in Austin. You have M1. Yeah, I think anything M chip, like you are in the modern world, right? On hardware. MacBook in 2020, M1 still. Yeah, guys, completely agree. I think I'm on an M2 or M3 on my laptop. I forget. But I was on an M1 for a very long time and I was very happy. I think it was when I was like separating from Reddit and going into my own company. I was like, oh, I got to buy my own stuff so that it's like I don't bleed the worlds together. And so I think I bought a new one. And then the Mac Mini, this is an M4 that I'm running all this off of. Because when you're doing all this video stuff, like I'm streaming and sometimes I record locally while I'm on stream. That's like pretty compute intensive, hardware intensive stuff. So that's why I bought the audio, encoder, the Rodecaster I've got. So to remove the audio processing off the computer, because I was doing all the audio processing on my computer too. I was doing everything off my MacBook for a while, right? So I had video and audio processing happening while I was recording. So I've removed audio processing is over on the Rodecaster. And then, yeah, I just got to do the video stuff. Quantum computers. Yeah, I can try to pull it up. Last time you tried to give me one of these hash node URLs, it didn't work. I can try. You just published this. Do you ever recommend Windows to anyone? I run everything. I've got a big Windows PC at home to run Steam on it. I've got a big ultra wide Samsung curved monitor that I run games on off of Windows 11. I think Windows has come a long way. Windows 10 is end of life. Yeah. I think Windows has come a long way. I daily drove that Windows box. My gaming rig, I just daily drove that for a long time. That was fine. I don't have a Discord. I'm launching a Slack community as part of my premium newsletter. But I think I'm going a different direction with it too. So maybe I'll start something that's like more free for us all to hang out in. Because I think the premium direction I'm going is going to be way higher price point targeted at businesses, and not trying. I always would rather take all of your boss's money than take your money, right? So I don't really want to charge you guys for stuff. But I also don't have time to do run a community. So I need to pay a community manager. So I kind of have to charge for the community. So I think I'm going to go way, way higher dollar so that I can charge businesses for seats to the community. And I've got a bunch of ideas of that. So if you guys are like pros that have learning and development budgets and want to like join a community that'll like really keep you at the tip of the spear of AI and cyber, I'm gonna do a lot in that direction. So maybe I'll do something kind of free for you guys. Are you allowed to say Microslap? I'm a Microsoft fan. They are obviously a vulnerability shop for sure, but I think they've got a great, great, great security team. I know a lot of their security team. They're some of the best on the planet. You've tested Bazite on your laptop for Steam games? I don't know that. I don't know Bazite. You're still on Windows 10? Yeah, I know a lot of people are. The new CSS Ode, not the one that was mainstreamed, a new one. Portbusters, were you in here asking about that last week? And I couldn't find it because I just kept finding the other one. Which CVE are you talking about? And I'll try to pull it up. I pulled up the one that Low Level made a video on. CVE 2441. We talked about that one. I haven't been able to find the other one. Makes sense. Use virtualization, stakeholders. He's calling us broke. I'm not calling you broke. I just really don't want to take people's money. You know what I mean? I don't know. It feels icky. Like, that's why I don't sit here and ask for you guys to subscribe on here. If you guys do, thank you so much. Super appreciated. I just really like, man, if you're out there making, a lot of people come and watch my content. They're trying to get into cyber, or maybe they're in cyber. They're making a salary. They're not like financially independent or anything like that. You know what I mean? It's like, hey man, like you get enough crap out there. People telling you to not buy yourself coffee and not, DoorDash yourself shit because it's like so financially irresponsible. So it's like, how am I going to ask for $20? You know what I mean? So Kilobyte, thank you. But it's like, I'm never going to be able to pay my bills off of like Twitch subs or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not out here with hundreds of people in chat every day. I don't know if I'll get there or not, right? But I don't think so. So I'm really trying to think of ways that I can use my content to drive business to something that I can charge your companies for. I would like much rather charge your companies for shit. Thank you for wanting Vulnu to succeed. Thank you. Galaxy, yeah, I got it. We talked about a bunch of this already. So if you wrote this, cool. Thanks for writing it. Chat, you can go look it up. Quantum threat before PQC standardization. We were talking about quantum stuff earlier, right? This talks just a lot about everything that we need to worry about with PQC. It'll expose yesterday's secrets. Yeah, we talked about this on stream already. So yeah, cool post. Thank you guys for wanting me to succeed and saying my content is good. That keeps me going. So a lot of my thought process here, just to kind of give you guys a peek into like my whole brain. I have been doing content basically my whole career just because I liked it, right? I ran a podcast before podcasts were a profession. It's called Liquid Matrix Security Digest. We did like probably damn near 200 episodes weekly, right? So that's however many years we did that. I gave like 4 Black Hat talks in 6 years, gave a couple DEF CON talks, just hundreds of B-sides and OWASP talks. I used to fly 100,000 miles a year domestic, and a lot of that was to conferences giving talks, right? So I consider that all content. Then I went to go work for the big banks, and they don't let you do any of that anymore. So I disappeared from the planet forever, right? For like 6 years, I worked for a fintech startup. I was their head of security. We got bought by Goldman. I was there for a year till my stock vested from the acquisition. It wasn't a lot of money. And then I went over to B of A, and I was at B of A for like 5 years. I was there for a while. You were a fan of Liquid Matrix? Holy shit. You're an OG, Max. Oh, you said you're Canadian, right? That's why. Canadians know about Liquid Matrix. I was the only non-Canadian on Liquid Matrix. And so I used to blog for Liquid Matrix before we even started the podcast too. I used to write on their blog under the handle Security Intern for a long time. And so I've been doing content forever. And then when I left the bank and went to Reddit, I was like, oh, I can start doing content again. Reddit doesn't care, right? Thank you, Andre. Oh, Bill, you wrote for Liquid Matrix at some point too. That's true. Welcome. Early days, Liquid Matrix was all Canadians. And on the podcast, I was the only non-Canadian on the podcast. Okay. Jamie, Dave, Ben, and then we even had Will for a little while. They were all Canadian. And then I was the non-Canadian on the podcast. And so when I left the bank and went to Reddit, right, I was like, oh, I can do content again. I'm not working for this heavily regulated industry that doesn't like me speaking publicly about what I do. And so I started the newsletter. I started Vulnerable You. And I literally started it for the love of the game. I was like, oh, I just want to start blogging again. But blogs were kind of dying. So I was like, oh, I'll start a newsletter. And then what really changed it for me was Dan Miesler. If you guys know Dan Miesler, if you don't, you should go follow his stuff. He called me and he was like, yo, bro, I just quit my job as like head of AppSec at Robinhood because my newsletter is making enough money. And I was like, what? You can make money from doing a newsletter? Like, never even crossed my mind, right? And I was just out here to do it, right? And so he really kind of reframed it for me, and I was like, oh, okay, like I'll take this seriously and be consistent with it instead of like doing it as a hobby. And so since then, since that phone call, I haven't missed a single week of Vulnerable U's newsletter. 158 weeks in a row this week. And it's because of that. And it's turned into a pretty good business. We're doing pretty well. I've got like contractors hanging out in chat. Bill, I'm probably helping pay Bill's mortgage here. Dennis was in chat earlier. I helped pay him while he was in between jobs. Wayback Machine. You want to laugh about the Wayback Machine? Let's do it. We've done this before, but we're going to do it again. I used to have a website. Here we go. MattJSecurity.com. I started this in college. And so we can go back to 2009. This was my blog, okay? This is my blog back in like May of 2009. We can go see what my blog looked like. I got the receipts. What was Matt J Security? I was giving career advice. How? I was unemployed, but I was giving career advice. Dude, look at this. I'm writing about Marcus Carey. I went on a boat with Marcus Carey like 3 weeks ago. I still keep in touch with these people. Rob Fuller just wrote me on LinkedIn last week to be like, yo, I like that video you made. I literally keep in touch with all these people. Jamie Arlen is one of my mentors and greatest allies in my entire career. He gave this talk. My professor in college handed me this talk on a DVD, and I wrote about it here. And I was basically like, hey, I've been trying to get into this career. This is my professor, Kees Loon. He used to run the incident response team for the country of the Netherlands. Basically, I was getting a lot of career advice, and I was like, all right, I'll put it all in one place for people because this is good career advice, right? So I was like, here's a bunch of free courses I'm taking. Here's all this shit. Hey, my latest post over at Liquid Matrix Security Digest talks about something. Gmail spam folder. I don't know what I was talking about there. We used to, dude. So you guys want to be dated? We used to hate the word cybersecurity. We hated when people said cyber back then. We've all given up. Cybersecurity as a term won. We hated it. We called it InfoSec, right? Or we called it security. Cybersecurity was like this weird thing. So we literally called it cyber douchery when people said cyber. We made stickers. Called cyber douchery. And we've all given up. Cyber war. We hated it. It was basically a signal that you didn't know what you were talking about back then. This is like crypto. Crypto meant cryptography, and now it means fucking Bitcoin, right? We're old. But wait, I smell a new cyber buzzword. Cyber Command. This is literally still the name of that department. I wrote homophobia is gay. I don't know why I wrote that. Amazonophobia. How smart is your grid? I was talking about smart grids. I was talking about Comcast. Google rains on cloud users. Tuesday, Bloody Tuesday. Computer security week 1. I think I was talking about, literally, this is like week 1 of computer security class in college. I was like, let's blog about what I learned. We had a blog roll. Oh, man. Mike Murray's dead. Kevin Riggins is dead. Such a shame. But Jack Daniel, Agent OXO is Tom Eston. He still runs things. Paul.com still runs Security Weekly. I think this is Martin McKay. Jeremiah Grossman was my boss. He was at my wedding. R Snake lives here in Austin. He's the reason I live in Austin. He's one of my best friends. We old out here, everybody. There you go. Trip down memory lane. Someone said Wayback Machine. I was like, I got to do it. Got to do it. Lorna Moloch. Cyber was what me and my wife did in long distance. Yep. Oh, man. Wait. I went to a later screenshot and CSS worked. So I used to say I was a certified ASS, application security specialist. I had like a physical brick of this. So, hey, Roman, if you're still here, longtime hater of certifications, you can see here. It was a link to my Twitter. Since joining White Hat Security, I've been living and working in the heart of Silicon Valley. There's a certain vibe in the air during lunch breaks and happy hours when everyone's meeting and talking about how passionate they are about tech companies. Wow. This is fun, man. Return to action. It's been about 6 months since I wrote a blog. Got a new job. Said job was 3,000 miles away. I drove the 3,000 miles. First week at the new location, my house was broken into. My computers and more than 5,000 stuff were stolen. Blown all my money moving 3,000 miles and went to Black Hat DEF CON B-Sides. New job's been keeping me supremely busy. So I wound up hacking at White Hat. I was a resident AppSec bug hunter. I wound up running this whole team. I wound up running the whole Threat Research Center. Since joining the team, we've doubled in size. Threat Research Center, which sounds so much spiffier. Oh, and I joined the Google Security Hall of Fame. I found a cross-site scripting bug. This was my Black Hat talk. There you go. This is funny. Trip down memory lane, everybody. ShmooCon podcast panel. Guy in the audience kept prattling about all the things that were not my job. That's why you've never been the effing boss. Takes a swig of his beer. Yep. That sounds like Jamie. All right, guys. A few other things to chat about before we get off. Well, I can stay live for a bit today. Bill's helping with the newsletter, so I don't have to bust my ass, right, Bill? So this is a big one, right? So this is there's a GitHub repo here. Whoops, I meant to open that in a new tab. So this CyberStrike AI, fairly popular, like 1,300 stars. It's an AI native security testing platform. Just kind of like this AI security tool that's open source, right? Because a lot of these are enterprise stuff. Well, guess what? comes with its own dashboard. And then Amazon found that threat actors are using it in actual infrastructure that they're using to hack stuff. So this CyberStrike AI banner is running on this service. Identify targeting with NetFlow. So there was a bunch, we covered this story, right? There was a bunch of Fortinet FortiGate devices that were hacked in some major campaign going on. And it turns out that they were using this open source AI security tool. So this is what I'm talking about when I say like, this is going to get worse before it gets better, right? You looked at this S-ray, you can actually find instances of this on Shodan with the favicon. So people are standing up this AI security tool, but then they're freaking leaving it public on the internet for their dashboard. That's so stupid. That's so stupid. Or Census. We've got a Census employee in chat right now, I believe. Census is cool. What's up, Melinza? Good to see you. Number of GitHub activity linked to Chinese state-sponsored operations are using this tool. Super interesting. So when I say it's going to get worse, before it gets better, this is what I mean, right? I mean, we're going to see more hacking tools and lowering of the hacking skill bar before we see the benefits of it on the defense side. Through native MCP protocol and AI agents enables end-to-end automation from conversational commands to vulnerability discovery, attack chain analysis. Yeah. Pretty gnarly. And so they were able to hack I think it was 600 FortiGate appliances with this tool. Paste the favicon link from GitHub in Shodan. Yeah. Which favicon link? This guy? Yeah, that's funny. Maybe more today. Oh, web folder. Got it. Web, static, this guy. Can I just use this whole GitHub URL? I think I have a Shodan account. I haven't used it in a minute. Let me log in. I do have a Shodan account. Oh, right click raw. Got it. Look at this, guys. Copy link. Let's go to Shodan. Just right here. Give that a shot. No. How do I do it? What am I missing? It's been a minute since I've gone in here. Oh, the hash. Okay. What's being censored when you type it? Is that something being censored? It's so funny that it's doing that. Oh, I just Googled it and I got that actually. I got to that same spot. So the hash from the URL, got it. Favicon hash. Search Shodan. No results found. I don't know if I have a Census account. Can I do that for free? Where oh, there's literally a Census button on that damn favicon site. That's funny. There we go. 4 more. If you said 14 yesterday, we got 18 now. Interesting. So these are literally, what are the URLs? Oh, so we just have hosts. We don't, oh, so just like this kind of stuff. So guys, if you haven't followed what we're doing, thank you, Portbusters, for walking me through on that. Dude, you lose these skills when you don't use them every day. You know what I mean? I don't do a whole lot of OSINT right now. So what we just did was there's this, if you guys didn't follow, there's this AI hacking tool that we're starting to see in like hacking activity, right? Disclaimer, obviously, do not use this against systems you do not have permission to do security testing on, right? I don't know if that'll help YouTube not yell at me. But we took the favicon. If you stand up this tool, it gives you a little web app so that you can use it, right? We took this tool and we searched for the favicon of that web app. So now there's 18 public hosts that we found on the internet that have this tool open to the internet, right? Disclaimers do not help. I'm going to get in trouble for this video. Maybe, hopefully not. So these are open to the internet. People are spinning up this AI hacking tool on some server, and then for whatever reason, freaking running it on like 8080 or RDP without firewall rules. So just so you know, if you ever stand up any tools like this, not even just this tool, if you stand up any tool that's like a helper little web app tool for you, you should limit it to only be able to be accessed by you. Just run it locally, right? It can do outbound all day, but the only reason that it's showing up on here is that these things are allowing inbound on these ports. If you're saying there's no login, I'm gonna poke around a little bit off screen. I'm nervous about what's gonna pop up live on stream if I start poking around. I don't want to go directly to that. How can I see? Does Census have like a little browser preview thing, or do I have to click this go button on their URI? I don't want to do that. For obvious reasons. Oh, browserling.com. Do it live. You guys have to understand why I'm doing this off screen. All right. Let's see. It's not in English. It does have a login. It's got a password, everybody. So there you go. That's one of them. But it asks for a password. It is educational purposes. Just delving a little bit into OSINT that sometimes YouTube gets spicy about. I got friends that do a lot of hacking stuff on YouTube, and you know, they get a little weird about it. All right. So anyway, I wanted to bring that up. I'm gonna drop this in the newsletter for sure. This is a good one. Bleeping did a little bit of a write-up on it too. What else we got? What else did I pull up for you guys today? Oh, all the Iran stuff, right? I will go into the Iran stuff. Unfortunately, I gotta go recycle some coffee. let me BRB really quick. Do a little chair stream. You guys can entertain yourself. I'll put some stuff on screen here so you can read. This is what we're going to talk about when I get back. So I will. I'm going to go. Recycle some coffee. BRB. Let me. All right. Thank you. Come back wired up. No, recycle some coffee, meaning the restroom. Coffee goes in, coffee must come out. I've already been chugging coffee. Like I said at the top of stream started really slow. There was nobody in here, and I was just talking to myself basically. And I was like, whoo, I only got 5 hours of sleep last night, and no one's in here chatting with me. This is going to be rough to get like on. So I was chugging coffee for sure. But you guys all showed up, and stream turned out awesome. So thanks for hanging out. I'll probably stay live another, I don't know, hour. I don't know. I'll go as long as we can. As long as I got shit that's interesting to talk about. All right. So, obviously, hopefully, obviously, war has a giant cyber component at this point now. Sorry, Matt, been busy. Oh, no. No one should feel obligated to be hanging out in my stream. Hopefully, I'm providing a useful stream. I'm just saying, there was like first 30 minutes here were pretty quiet. So I was like trying to hype myself up. It's, it's hard to just yap to yourself, right? Speak to the void. So I just did a whole video on this. What did I say? I said like the future of warfare is cyber or something like that. I forget. I made a whole YouTube video about it. It's a good YouTube video. I don't think my hook is very strong. No one watched it. It's a very low performing video. But Google kind of went through and talked a lot about like cyber warfare and like how it's evolving and how it's a major component of real warfare, right? Obviously, yeah, of course life happens. Life happens to me too. So obviously, with all the current U.S. military activity that's going on, to put it like that, there has been cyber components of all of them. When we swooped in and kidnapped the head of Venezuela, Cyber Command put out a statement that they had a major operation that went on leading up to that actual kinetic thing. So when I say kinetic means physical, real world, guns, bullets, missiles, drones, that kind of thing. Cyber is not kinetic. So when there's kinetic components to things, a lot of times what we're seeing is that there's a cyber component that precedes it, basically knocking out power, knocking out defense systems, increasing likelihood of success of the kinetic component is really what we're seeing, to kind of boil it down. So we just saw it recently in Venezuela. If I saw someone comment while I was gone about the OpenAI Anthropic bit, I did make a short about it. We haven't talked about it yet on stream today. And this does bleed in nicely to that, because obviously they are, drawing various lines in the sand about what they will and will not sign contracts, kind of agreeing for their software to be used to do, right? There will likely never be another op that does not have a cyber component. I agree. I think as of right now, the cyber components seem to have be very successful too, right? They're legitimately disrupting things. So there's some good reports about a lot of this, right? Let's see. So I've got two that I can bring up. So Cyber Command contributed to Operation Epic Fury, just like a 12-year-old name these fucking things, right? Digital Combatant Command was among the first movers in the operation against Iran. I've had to beat myself out of saying Iran. I'm from New York. We say things stupid, but people yell at me no matter how I pronounce it. But I think Iran is closer to accurate, right? Coordinated space and cyber operations effectively disrupted communications and sensor networks across the area of responsibility, leaving the adversary without the ability to see, coordinate, or respond effectively, they said in a press briefing on Monday. Trump suggested that U.S. cyber warriors... You remember all that cyber douchery stuff I was just talking about? This is what we hated back then. So there's a part of me that still really, really, really hates stuff like this. I hate the cyber part of it. And come on, cyber warriors. Anyone with a CISP that engaged in these operations violated. It's a fair point. I don't think they give a shit if they're this deep in the state. You know what I mean? So yeah, as they said, they were part of Venezuela, and then Saturday with Iran, they say there was another part of it. Tehran-linked hackers are stepping up digital recon and preparing for potentially disruptive cyber activity following the recent U.S. attacks. The war expected to test U.S. cyber forces. But wait, I have a tweet. I've got a bunch about this, actually. I forgot. There's an issue. A lot of cyber warriors, epic fury. Dude, I know, man. You think it's Iran? That's what I used to say, and then people started leaving comments that said I was saying it wrong. I don't know. I'm going to go with Iran for now. It's not. Long Eye. Got it. So part of the stuff that I think was important to talk about, besides the fact that there was a cyber component, is that these cyber and kinetic components are inextricably tied. So not only do they precede the kinetic op, but Iran was one of the major APTs, right? They're not quite China, they're not quite Russia, but they're kind of in third, right? They're right around the North Korean, in terms of they pop up often, they use 0 days, they do perform ops against other parts of the world, right? Long E sounds how it's really long E sound. Former life Farsi linguist. So it's not Iran. It's long E. Iran? Iran. So I was wrong both times. Because I used to say Iran. And then I said Iran. It's Iran. Thank you, Farsi linguist. Did you study at Monterey? Second one is more or less correct. Got it. Okay. DLI, is that Monterey? I have known a lot of people that went through Monterey linguist stuff. Cool. I used to be a part of a group in California when I was there that had some people that went through there, taught me some really interesting stuff just about kind of the relationship between Arabic, Hebrew, and just kind of the etymology of things is super interesting, and like how it kind of I find that stuff super, super fascinating. Sorry. Guys, I'm probably going to continue to just mispronounce it. I'm sorry. We're going to have to just roll with it. The other part that I wanted to talk about is, well, first, there was a very popular app in the region, 30 million installs in the region, that the app was hacked, and that was used. This was kind of like in war, when they drop propaganda flyers from planes, that's kind of what this was. It's like the modern day version of dropping flyers from a plane. They hacked a mobile app that had 30 million installs in the region and sent push notifications to the users. Target audience was mostly army members, calling for them to surrender and join the people if they want to survive. This is literally like dropping flyers from the sky, right? In classic warfare. Not just because of the high number of downloads, users of this app are particularly religious people, have higher chance to be pro-regime within the body of the army. One important but seemingly ignored fact about this app is that it requests location access in order to operate. Guys, why does your prayer app need location access? It's safe to assume most users allowed that for more accurate prayer time results. Oh my gosh. Of course. IDF still drop flight. Yeah. I know it still happens, but I'm calling it classic warfare, right? I know it still happens. But like pictures when I can see it happening, it's like older pictures, right? It's safe to assume that if the app backend is compromised enough to allow sending push notifications, it's safe to assume that any telemetry logs and data from the app would also be compromised. Correlating telemetry with unique user IDs, large user base can be abused in many operations. So that's a big one I think we're under talking about, right? Hyper popular app, 30 million installs with location info, and they were spreading propaganda push notifications via it is insane, right? All right, but backing up. Right after the first strikes, within the first hours, multiple popular pro-regime news agencies and outlets were compromised at the same time. Legitimate-looking news content were injected into the front page, aimed at degrading morale of pro-regime forces by typical PSYOPs tactics. The sites were quickly taken down and restored. So we've got this is hyper-coordinated stuff, right? They had this access, and they weren't using it until they used it all at the same time. Right. Rumors started happening. So these are like confirmed hacks. Then there was like a bunch of rumors that happened. People were saying Uber and Snapchat were compromised and that military people were told to uninstall those apps. Rumors circulated that the EITAA, an Iranian popular messaging app, was also taken down and no longer accessible. That turned out to just be a rumor. Iran internet went in full blackout mode again. Not that this had anything to do with cyber operations. Initially started from MCI and expanded to the entire country within a day. Like in previous cases, there are still a small fraction of hosts that remain accessible. So this is the government taking their shit down to limit blast radius, right? During the second day of strikes, Iranian national TV's Channel 3 satellite stream was hijacked, second time since the protests, and videos of Trump and Netanyahu's speeches were broadcast instead. PSYOPs. Wild. Right? This is like modern warfare here, people. Very similar to a couple weeks ago, Anonymous Collective claimed credit for the hack. The FT. Yeah, so I think I had the FT story up, right? Nope, that ain't it. I have it. Where is it? Here. Yeah. So inside the plan, nearly all the traffic cameras in Tehran had been hacked for years. Their images encrypted and transmitted to servers in Tel Aviv and Israel, according to two people familiar with the matter. Kind of nuts. Cancelina Jolie, that's an awesome name. Snapchat is full of IDF soldiers and was also used in propaganda ops in Gaza. Yeah. I mean, it's just a bad idea, right? So I think that's why like the rumor mill was useful, was because it was just like, oh, you know, sent ops like put out, don't use Uber or Snapchat because location data is compromised. I think it wasn't compromised, but I think it's just good advice for people in sensitive information, like sensitive areas. We saw the Strava stuff, right? Tracking covert locations because the military people were tracking their runs on Strava. Snapchat maps is like another thing, right? One camera had an angle that provided particularly useful, according to one of the people, allowing them to determine where the men liked to park their personal cars, providing window into workings of mundane part of closely guarded compound. Complex algorithms added details to dossiers on members of these security guards that included their addresses, hours of duty, routes they, you know. So when you see stuff like this is why security people and privacy advocates hate the flock cameras that are going everywhere, right? Is like you're building data profiles about mundane everyday movements of everyone without their consent, right? Just like where they park, where they go get their coffee, whatever it is. Just based on these cameras, who's to say that shit's not going to be misused? Spoiler alert, it will be misused. That's why you see security and privacy advocates rallying against this stuff. Capabilities were part of years-long intelligence campaign that helped pave the way for this assassination. The source of the real-time data, one of hundreds of different streams of intelligence, was not the only way Israel and the CIA were able to determine exactly what time 86-year-old Khamenei would be in his offices this fateful Saturday morning and who would be joining him. Nor was the fact that Israel was able to disrupt single components of roughly a dozen or so mobile phone towers near Pasteur Street, making the phones seem as if they were busy when called, stopping Khamenei's protection detail from receiving possible warnings. Remember the pagers that blew up? That was insane. That's insane long game supply chain, right? Insane long game supply chain to get. They weren't pagers, right? It was like walkie-talkies or something. Wasn't it like shortwave radios that they were using? Insane. How many years to get like exploding batteries into those hands? Only the good guys will have access. Yeah. Not only do I hate that sentence, S. Robertson, good guys, air quotes on good guys, and the air quotes are doing heavy lifting, right? Law enforcement has proven time and time again that they will abuse this access that they have. If they have access to like location data, they will use it to stalk their ex-wives. They will use it to try to pick up someone that they thought was cute. They will look up license plates. They will they will abuse this, right? They've abused it in divorces. They found their kids. They've, whatever, right? Good guys is doing heavy lifting. And that's what they say, right? Then ignore all of that, right? Which is totally misuse. And then it's, of course, this crap, like you can't make a backdoor that's just for you. It's not how math works. If there's a backdoor, there's a backdoor. What is a good guy in this case? Totally. Also, any advantage the U.S. has enjoyed in exploit development has been rapidly receding. Totally. I think it depends on who you ask. If anybody involved here is a good guy, right? Sorry, I just was reading a Slack. Long before the bomb falls, we knew Tehran like we know Jerusalem, said one of the Israeli intelligence officers. And when you know a place well, as you know the street you grew up on, you notice a single thing that's out of place. This is wild, right? Really, really dystopian 1984 crap here. Mathematical method known as social network analysis to parse billions of data points to unearth unlikely centers of decision-making gravity and identify fresh targets to surveil and kill. All this is fed an assembly line with single product targets. Israeli intelligence culture, targeting intelligence is the most essential tactical issue. This is just gnarly stuff, right? I think it's really important for us to all realize what's going on in security. Like when we're talking about security and privacy, this is the kind of shit that we're trying to protect ourselves against, right? Like if Israel can do it, so can other governments. So it's like, and who the hell wants Israel to be doing this against us anyway, right? There's this phrase going around right now that I'm trying to highlight more and more often called sentiment analysis. Sentiment analysis. So like you cross a border, they want to scan your social media presence and perform sentiment analysis on your social media presence to decide what? To decide if you're friend or foe. And who's to decide what sentiment is spicy enough for whatever stuff, right? Sentiment analysis is a scary phrase. So when we're using phrases like sentiment analysis to determine whether or not we can go after you for what, right? Like, is it ICE coming after you? Is it the CIA coming after you? Is it Israel coming after you? Is it Iran coming after you? Iran has a huge hacking capability, right? I don't want this kind of data being tracked to the level, to the letter, to the millimeter that it's being tracked right now in terms of our location, via ad networks, via data brokers, all this kind of crap. It's just a peek into it, right? It's just the right, if you say the wrong thing and the right person want to come and tap on your door to be like, yo, we're going to have a chat because you said something on Twitter, they can do it, right? Anyone in HFT? What's HFT? Sorry, acronym soup at this point. Country's intelligence superiority was full display in the 12-day war last June. We took their eyes, both in the June war and now. Israeli pilots have used a specific kind of missile called the Sparrow, variants of which are able to hit a target as small as a dining room table from more than 1,000 kilometers away, far from Iran and reach of any of this aerial defense system. Not all the details of the latest operation are known. Some may never be made public. But this killing was a political decision, not simply a technological advancement, said more than half a dozen. Basically, like, we could have done this at any point, and now it was a political decision. CIA and Israel determined that Khamenei would be holding a meeting on Saturday morning at his offices near Pistorius Street. The chance to kill him alongside so much of his senior leadership was especially opportune. They assessed that hunting them down after a war had properly begun would have been much harder. since they would have quickly embarked on evasive practices, including heading underground bunkers. Khamenei, unlike his ally Hezbollah, did not live in hiding. He had spent years of his life underground bunkers, dodging several Israeli assassination attempts. Israel fighter jets dropped as many as 80 bombs over his hideout in Beirut. I mean, this is just wild, right? This is really important modern warfare stuff to really understand. All this happening while the government's trying to push ID. Dude, go watch my video on that. Death of anonymous internet. This is exactly my point. This is exactly my point. This is why. It's none of the save the children BS. They want you to give your ID to everything that you say on the internet so that they have your speech on any social network is not even close to anonymous, right? It's tied to your government ID. It's exactly what it is. If you've done nothing wrong, you have nothing to hide is absolutely incorrect, right? Absolutely incorrect. It's such BS. Especially when it comes to like laws and what's illegal and what's not illegal and all this kind of stuff. You know? It's like, gosh. Don't get me started, you know? The laws are written in such a way that if they want to come have a conversation with you, they can, right? Like there are laws that they can just come and chat with you about. Jaywalking, you know? For example, I don't really smoke weed or anything like that, but it was illegal federally and states for most of my life. And a ton of people imbibed, right? Now it's all of a sudden like starting to grow, like become legal in a bunch of different places. But for a time there, like, why do you think there was a demand for it to be legal? That means that there's enough people that were breaking the law at that time to clamor for the law to change. If during that whole period of time that it was illegal everywhere, they were able to just come snatch you up because they knew everything about you and they wanted to, they could, right? And they did. For certain populations of the people, they could just pick you up. And this is why cybersecurity and privacy are a political issue. You should be allowed to have a right to privacy. Yep. Anyway, I think this is an incredibly telling article, right? In Hebrew, we say, with the food comes the appetite. Talking about intelligence. I think we're going to be looking about that. I mean, this is like the history books are being written in front of us right now, right? Around cybersecurity and privacy. It didn't used to be illegal for Russians to mention war, but now in Ukraine, they're being put to jail, shipped off. Yeah. Totally. All right, I got a few more stories. Sorry, that was a depressing little stint there. It's important for us to not ignore, though, you know? All right, the Anthropic and OpenAI stuff with the Pentagon is kind of nuts. Anthropic held the line in the sand. Did I mention GPS jamming? Not GPS jamming specifically, but we talked a lot about just like the pre-attack stuff. Wasn't really GPS jamming, but it was a whole lot of intelligence gathering. They had owned traffic cameras. They had data on their cell phones. I mean, there was just a huge cyber component to the operation, right? And then I didn't talk about GPS jamming, but they did overload the cell circuits so that all the calls to the area were come through as busy, so it would stop from warning them that the attack was coming out, right? All right, so Anthropic drew this line in the sand that said that I think it's a pretty fair line for a company to draw, right? It's just like, hey, don't use us in mass surveillance or autonomous killing of people. Those are the two stipulations that they just were like, hey, we don't even care if you use us in lethal weapons. We just don't like lethal autonomous weapons, meaning the AI can't unilaterally go off and decide who and what to kill, right? And then mass surveillance, just in general, they don't want to be a part of it, right? So Anthropic did that. DoD was like, cool, you're banned from the government contracts. OpenAI then signed the contract with the DoD, but then publicly, Altman's out and he's like, hey, I actually agree with our competitor Anthropic, which is weird because they signed the contract, right? But I also think companies that choose to work with the Pentagon, as long as it is going to comply with legal protections and the few red lines that the field we have, I think we share with Anthropic, and that other companies also independently agree with. I think it's important to do that. He's basically saying, hey, we're going to work with them, but we also agree with Anthropic's red lines, which is kind of nuts, right? How did I just like one of your tweets midstream? I have Twitter up. I got to react to Twitter for sure. What's up, Astarte? I call you Solstice. Is that not correct? Should I not say Solstice? Ice Solstice. I have a hard time knowing what to call you, Astarte. Here, I'll like another one of your tweets. Boom. I mean, Twitter's like my live breaking news. Twitter's home for me on the internet, you know? That's why I was so upset at its transformation over the last bit of time. But Solstice fine. You don't know either. You don't know what the hell people should call you. Twitter is my home on the internet, and that's why I was so mad that it got kind of effed up there for a while. But yeah, it's like how I keep on top of all breaking news, right? So go to that multitasking. Yeah. I'm monitoring the situation, people. You got to monitor the situation. I'm talking and I'm monitoring the situation. All right. So I don't really get this, right? Because Anthropic held the line in the sand. They got banned. OpenAI signed the contract, but then Altman's coming out and saying, actually, we agree with Anthropic. Well, then how come you're not banned? And how come you signed the contract, right? For all the difference I have with Anthropic, I mostly trust them as a company. I think they really do care about safety, and I've been happy that they've been supporting our warfighters. OpenAI and Anthropic are major competitors. Ahead of Friday deadline, Anthropic understands the Department of War, not private companies, makes military decisions. We have never raised objection to particular military operations, nor attempted to limit the use of our technology in an ad hoc manner. However, in a narrow set of cases, we believe AI can undermine rather than defend democratic values. Some uses are simply outside the bounds of what today's technology can safely, reliably do. I think this is totally fair, right? Pentagon has argued it's no interest in using AI to conduct mass surveillance or develop autonomous relations. Bullshit. He said the CEO has a God complex. If anyone has a God complex, it's fucking every chair of everything in the government right now, right? He wants nothing more than to try to personally control the military aid. That's just such bullshit. It's just such BS. Don't make me defend billionaires, please. I fucking hate it. He came out publicly how many people uninstalled it. Yeah, I don't understand it, right? Because he's basically saying we agree, but they got the contract and they're not banned. All right, a few quick hits. I'm going to put these in my newsletter. We don't have to talk too much about them. They're not too deep, right? But smart TVs generally are ripe for being used in botnets. And some of them are letting people participate in these global proxy networks. We've seen some of these before already. A lot of these cheap Android smart TVs do it. But then these ones were not the kind of the cheapo ones, right? This one was like, Bright Data has been pitching streaming service operators on an alternate approach for apps running on Samsung, Tizen, LG's WebOS, one that comes without ads. All publishers have to do is unlock a new revenue source to integrate the company's Bright SDK into their TV apps to convince viewers to opt in. So it's basically apps that you can install on smart TVs will monetize by making your TV become part of basically a fucking botnet, right? We don't do any kind of tracking, blah, 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 blah. We work silently in the background, completely anonymously. Yeah, but they're using your TV to be part of this global proxy network. Basically, they're giving your residential IP space to people who would like to appear as if they're coming from a residential IP. So to give you some context into why, when I've run corporate security teams, we would block traffic from data centers, right? There's like very little legitimate traffic that's going to come to your app from a data center. And known data centers, their IPs are out there. So like we just like know AWS's IP range. We know Azure's IP range. We know Google. We know all of them, right? So you can just block traffic from data centers. So that stops like people from spinning up a VM in a data center and then doing shit on your site, right? So valuable IP space is residential IP space, because me at the security team can't block residential IP space. That's where my customers and my employees are, right? So what happens is you got these residential proxy networks that lets attackers or whatever the heck, not even attackers, right? Just like people, but generally a lot of nefarious shit goes on here, can start using these proxy networks to appear as if they're coming from residential IP addresses. So what's been happening is, a lot of these companies are coming out, and a lot of these apps for TVs or even like mobile apps and stuff, a lot of these app developers don't make a whole lot of money, right? And so these companies will go to those apps and be like, hey, you're probably not making a lot of money from your actual customers, right? We'll give you a new lever that you can pull. Just include this little bit of code in your app. Go ahead, throw it in there, right? And we'll just pay you for the privilege of you including our SDK in your app. And then what happens is these SDKs are just used to put that device as part of a proxy network. So you're just renting your bandwidth to fucking botnets and shit. When a consumer downloads and installs a participating app, so you don't even know, right? You're not even out there saying, yeah, you know what? I would like to give my IP space up and I'll take a share of that reward. That stuff exists too. But this is an app that you install that probably has a legitimate function, but that app developer is trying to monetize a little bit more by including that SDK. So these participating apps, you install it, you don't even realize that that SDK is in this app. They'll see an opt-in screen, ask them to confirm their willingness to participate in Bright's network. I don't know, right? I don't know. It's probably just part of the permissions. To enjoy Petflix for free with fewer ads, you're allowing Bright Data to occasionally use your device's free resources and IP addresses. Okay, so that's more of a warning than I thought they would give. I don't think that's always the case, right? Our network is based on consensual individual participation. Once a consumer opts into Bright Data's networks, their smart TV starts downloading publicly available web pages, as well as audio and video data, which is then forwarded to Bright's cloud servers. The company claims to only do so when it doesn't impact the device's bandwidth. In some cases, your smart TV might even crawl the web for Bright as soon as you turn it on. This means that our monetization continues even if the app itself is not running. Bright's Data is not the only company. Google Threat Intel was talking about this. Krebs was talking about this. It's part of a bunch of, the Kim Wolf botnet uses a lot of this. Google security researchers do not draw any connection between IP IDEA and Bright Data. Bright goes through great lengths to set itself apart from bad actors. Our SDK, along with all the technology, is reviewed by, Google's app review for sure. Bright SDK implements rigorous partner selection and criteria. I wouldn't touch any of this shit with a 10-foot pole. So just FYI, if you download any of this stuff, it's gonna burn you. Going to burn you. All right, what else? This was an interesting one out of South Korea. I don't usually cover a whole lot out of South Korea, but their tax authority revealed seed phrases as part of some like press report. And then someone saw that, and the seed phrases allowed them to drain the crypto wallets that were seized as part of this. Revealing a critical mnemonic rule in a press release for public viewing is akin to advertising inviting people to take your money. The tax authority's lack of basic understanding of virtual assets. So they basically leaked a crypto wallet seed phrase in their like brag. You know how like cops post a picture of like all the drugs that they had on the table and the money? Well, these were seed phrases for crypto wallets. And so bye-bye money immediately, like untraceable, gone. Kind of funny, right? What else we got? I think this one was this. So we have some hacktivists that hacked Homeland Security, and they're releasing ICE data. So the hacktivists are calling themselves the Department of Peace. I thought that was clever, right? Instead of the Department of War, they're the Department of Peace. And then they went to DDoS Secrets and they published a bunch of data relating to contracts between DHS's ICE and 6,000 companies, including defense contractors Anduril, L3Harris, Raytheon, and surveillance enabler Palantir, as well as Microsoft and Oracle. So this is like contract information. Why hack the DHS? I could think of a couple pretty good reasons. I mean, kind of a whatever leak, but just interesting. Always interesting to see the hacktivist stuff, right? Kind of akin to the anonymous activity of, 10, 15 years ago. Oh, I forgot to pull this up earlier. What was this? Negotiations were deteriorating with Anthropic. Pentagon and OpenAI began working through an alternative. Altman said he has the same worries about Anthropic, and critics question whether civil liberties, that prompted the CEO to try to answer this. We are in the business of war fighting, giving our warfighters decisions. I don't think there's a whole lot more here, right? It's just kind of like, no, we agree. We're cool, but we're going to work with them. This was a huge one. I want to cover this more, the shadow campaigns thing. I don't know if we want to get into it right now. I don't know if I want to get into this right now. I'm going to drop this in chat. You guys can read this. This will be in my newsletter. I know some people over at Unit 42, and they were saying that this was some pretty serious research that they put out. We're not going to get into it. I don't have the brain cells to go through a threat intel report right now. Referring to Pete as sec war. We talked about that already. I'm just trying to go through the rest of the tabs that I had opened before stream to make sure we talked about everything. I think I got it all. Which Israel one? This one? Yeah, it's paywalled, but you can go. Here. I'll be a good steward of the internet and share the paywall thing, but you guys can get around the paywall yourself. All right, cool. Well, ladies and germs, that puts us at about 3 hours. And I think I covered every tab that I opened. Oh, gosh, I only got 5 hours of sleep last night. I was up coding until like 1 in the morning or something. And that alarm goes off no matter what. Watch this. I'm going to freak out. Solst. Oh, you had a silent alarm this morning? People have been saying that's been happening. Who saw? I want to talk about one more thing. You guys follow Dan Guido on Twitter? So Dan is the head of Trail of Bits, which is one of kind of the premier consulting companies in security. They do a lot of really, really high-end work, like work that no one else has the brains on staff that can do. I knew I would get you to say something, Solst. For those you don't know, I just tweeted at SRT because he was freaked out that I liked his tweet while live, and I was like, I'm gonna write a tweet. I said, I can do more than just like your tweet while live. So Dan is the CEO. Dan's like, first of all, legendary hacker. He's one of the first people I used to follow in the industry. He's in New York City. I'm from New York originally. He came to my university when I was there. And he gave a talk, and it was like literally about APT1. It was like the birth of the APT acronym. So Dan's a legend. He helped build the Cyber Masters program at NYU. Just like seriously one of the smartest cybersecurity brains on the planet. And he runs Trail of Bits. He's the CEO, right? So, you know, he's doing CEO things. But he's also like got the Claude bug. Dan's the one that his company built the AI find and fix vulnerability tool that won $3 million at DEF CON. He has publicly said that Claude 4.6, Opus 4.6 out of the box is better than that tool already, right? This is Dan. This tweet is like, I sent this around to people, a lot of business owners that I know. And I was like, if you're not following in Dan's footsteps here, you better be. You better be. He is basically automating a lot of his consultancy, right? They release a lot of their Claude skills for free. I think I've pulled them up on stream before. He's got a GitHub of Trail of Bits skills that are really, really good. He's even got like a plugin marketplace or skills marketplace of like vetted things, because skills are also like super sensitive in a way to get malware. So it's like, hey, if you trust Trail of Bits, here's our skills that we say are okay, right? That's just the stuff that they release publicly. He's kind of given a peek behind the curtain of what's going on behind the scenes, right? So their internal skills repo is 59 plugins, 140 different skills, 66 agents, 81 helper scripts, 34 workflows, 18 defined commands, right? 3 hooks. So hooks that are going into, like, hooks run before every AI prompt. And he's saying this is covering every part of the consulting lifecycle. I think this is one of the, like, I showed that to people and I was just like, hey, if you haven't touched any of this stuff, this is the wake up call, right? Like, Trail of Bits is already kind of a top shop, and if they're getting that optimized around those tools, I don't think those, like, obviously those tools are game changers right now. They're not like the sky is falling game changers. Like, I think a lot of the layoffs that we're seeing right now were just going to happen anyway, and people are pointing to AI. Maybe AI had something to do with it, but I don't think AI is like the reason that a company like Blocks cut themselves in half. I think they were just way too big. So I'm not sky is falling on it yet, but they are game changers and they're hyper optimizing for people. So I think that there is a point in the future when these things are going to kind of reach even a higher potential. And when companies like that are that poised at the tip of the spear of all this stuff going on, this is the kind of stuff that I point everyone to. And I'm just like, if you're not doing that, you're falling behind. It's not too late, but you're falling behind. You know what I mean? Thanks for sharing, Galaxy Tab. I'll pull them up later. That's my AI mic drop. Solst, if you're still here, we're going to chat, right? Like, we're going to chat live soon, but just also curious where you're at on some of the stuff that Dan is saying. I know you're pretty on top of Claude, like you and Zach and stuff are super on top of Claude and how it's changing things. Yeah, man. I've done lots of AppSec stuff. I ran AppSec at Reddit, White Hat. I used to run all sorts of AppSec. What I want to talk to you about, kind of give you a sneak peek of the direction that would go, is my AppSec mantra. I think AppSec as we did it is dead. I think like finding and fixing vulns is dead. Whack-a-mole in AppSec is no longer, right? DAST and SAST are just not the way anymore, in my opinion. Maybe like AI powered SAST is probably going to revitalize a bit of SAST. Maybe AI powered DAST will be there too. I don't know. But I think right now, I'll tell you, when I was doing it, I was so annoyed that the only signal I was getting about cross-site scripting bugs on reddit.com was from fucking bug bounty reports, right? I couldn't find... SemGrep never found a true positive for me, and I think SemGrep's a good tool. I threw every DAST tool I could find at Reddit. None of them found anything, and I kept paying out bug bounties. And I was just so annoyed that I was like, and same thing with SSRF. I was paying SSRF, like, oh God. I was like, why can I not find these SSRF bugs and these cross-site scripting bugs before the bug bounty does, right? I'm a fan of bug bounty programs. I'm not trashing them. I think there is a place, but I was just frustrated as the AppSec team that I was like, why can't we find these vulnerabilities first? And how come I have no signal coming out of my AppSec stack that someone had just exploited SSRF or XSS? How did that not set off any alarm, right? Thankfully, it was always by a bug hunter who told me about it. But why is this setting off no alarm? And so when I took over, we were still running all sorts of SAST stuff. We were trying to work on SemGrep, all this stuff. And I killed all of it. I fired our DAST company. I fired SemGrep. Love my SemGrep homies out there. Love to you thing. Sorry I fired you. I got rid of all of it, right? We pulled out our SCA tool. I had tons of people fucking running an SCA tool that we were paying, I don't even want to tell you how much money for. And it's an expensive version number checker at that point, right? And I was like, that's not even how we're getting hacked, right? I cut all of it out. I fired all of the vendors, right? And I said, okay, we're going to declare public enemy number 1, and we're going to not stop. We're going to take all of my AppSec resources. It was only a few people, but instead of whack-a-moling vulns, no, that's who it was, Astarte. That I was just going without saying it, but that's who I fired them too. And we rolled our own SCA off of Google has their open source one. I forget, I brain fart at the moment. But I said, okay, public enemy number 1 is SSRF. Why the hell do we keep coding SSRF, right? I had the team evaluate. In our code base, we were making HTTP requests 48 different ways. 48 different ways to make an HTTP request in our across all of our code. I said, okay, we're gonna build guardrails. We're gonna get that down to 2 per language, per framework. And so that's what we did. We coded HTTP request guardrails that said you're making an internal request or an external request. We named them internal request and external request. So you had to type it. I'm requesting an external resource. I am typing an internal resource. Never the two shall meet. And that's it. And then I went through code and I got permission from my CISO and I said, hey, if I'm going to treat it that if you're not using my guardrails that we just made, I'm going to treat it like a vulnerability. I'm going to treat it, even if it's not vulnerable code, I'm going to treat it as such. You're going to get an SLA. You're going to get hit like that. That was a vulnerability, right? And I socialized this for weeks beforehand. Hey guys, we wrote these things. We did it in concert with engineering. They were all supportive of it, whatever. And I said, okay, everyone, go find all these whatever. And then that's what we did. We used, it wasn't even like SemGrep or anything. We just did like really simple, what was it? Like just really like pattern, like we were fucking like grepping. You know what I mean? We were just like looking for this stuff in code at that point. We were doing linters. It was like linting rules that if you were using the unsafe HTTP methods, I just considered you vulnerable. So my philosophy became, and I'll die on this hill, and Solst, we can talk about this on your podcast. The lack of a guardrail became a vulnerability. That was my mantra for AppSec. We're going to build guardrails to eliminate entire vulnerability classes, and your lack of a guardrail should be considered a vulnerability. I was no longer waiting for the actual vuln to appear. If you weren't using the safe method, I considered you vuln. That was it. And we drove SSRF to zero. Never happened again. 48 different ways of making HTTP requests, and we went down to 2 per framework because every framework needed to do it differently. And then I was like, okay, cool, SSRF dead. Cross-site scripting, you're next. What are we doing? All right, I dedicated an entire person full time to roll out CSP across Reddit. Reddit's got CSP now across everything. Why the fuck wasn't that there? Why were we chasing cross-site scripting bugs instead of spending all that effort that we were chasing cross-site scripting bugs to roll CSP? Well, we rolled CSP, So I can't take credit for any of the actual work, but philosophically, I had the political clout there to stop a lot of the wasted time on vulnerability shit and be like, yo, we're all security engineers now. You're not pen testers anymore. You now all need to learn how to code. So I took my 2 like AppSec pen testers. Thanks for subscribing. Welcome. And so I took my I had 2 AppSec pen testers. I was like, all right, guys, you're going to learn Golang. You're security engineers now. And that's it. And then I had another guy that was more of a security engineer already, and he did CSP. And so I had the political capital to just kind of refocus the team, and we just started eliminating vulns. We were like, all right, every vuln we have, fucking, how do we do this? Yeah, man, see ya. Thanks for hanging out. Hit me up when you want me on your podcast. I'll come hang out. All right, guys. I think I'm going to drop, maybe eat some lunch, go identify a taco, and then write the newsletter. If you're not subscribed, please go subscribe. It's like my main way I pay my bills is vulnu.com. Does what the language you learn first matter in security? No. I would just try to stay modern. I wouldn't well, no, I mean, unless like if you go watch like Low Level TV's account, Low Level TV, that's a YouTube channel. He teaches like assembly in C, so that's not like modern languages, but he's doing like really low level stuff. So if you want to do like really like reverse engineering stuff, you can go do that. But if you're like security engineering, meaning like you're building things for your job to be used in security, you're not reverse engineering, like you're building stuff. unless you have a very specific reason to learn some of the older languages, I would make sure to stick into the modern stuff, right? Yeah, he likes Rust too, which is kind of the modern, like if he's coding stuff, he's going to code it in Rust, right? It's like the memory safe, newer C stuff. But he reverse engineers C and assembly and whatnot all the time. So yeah, I would stick, if you know nothing about programming, I would start with Python. It's probably the easiest to learn if you know nothing. If you do know some coding, I would probably play with Go and Rust. I don't know any Rust. But I know enough Go to be dangerous. Fuck, I even like JavaScript for most of my projects, right? But I'm not like an elite hacker or anything like that. But Golang is probably going to be a very, very valuable skill for a while still here. No, I don't know any Rust. I mean, I'm obviously familiar enough. I've written a lot of code in my life, so I can read pretty much any language, but I've never written any Rust. I've written some Golang that wound up in production at a few jobs as a security engineer. We were writing Golang microservices, like Docker containers at a job a while ago, like an early Kubernetes version. And so I was writing like Kubernetes config shit, and then I was writing Golang, little helper functions, like little, I think I wrote like the password strength thing. Like I edited our auth microservice or something like that. Right. Contributed to Docker. No, I didn't contribute to Docker. I was the head of security at this fintech startup, and we were all Docker container microservices on Kubernetes in Google Cloud. And so I was writing little security microservices at the time. Just a few. It was a good way to learn. It was like super early Kubernetes. You would not want me behind that keyboard in charge of a Kubernetes cluster right now. That is a very complicated skill set that if you don't do, whoa, everybody, breaking news. Breaking news. Hold on. I was about to go, but breaking news. Sorry, I faked you guys out twice leaving. GPT 5.4 just launched. That's huge. I don't really take these benchmarks into consideration too much. So they say 5.3 thinking was that much worse than Opus, and now they say they kind of just surpassed Opus on this computer use. Web browsing, knowledge work tasks, agentic browsing. Interesting. How about coding? Yeah. Why would Opus 4.6 not have a number for the coding benchmark? Yeah, you're right. You're right, Portbusters. Oh, no, it says it right at the top. Run with maximum available reasoning effort. Unless that's just OpenAI. I don't understand why the software engineering bench, like, what the fuck? This is like what Opus 4.6 is good at. And that's like my main use case on anything is coding. I got a text that said 1 million context window on the new one, though. The pricing's really bad. Yeah. It's quite a big jump. Not viable to build with at all. Does Codex not have like kind of a max thing? I just use Claude Code, so I haven't messed too much with Codex. 1 million context window is kind of insane, though. $1 million context window probably could take basically an entire code repo into a single bit of context. Yeah, I see the guy trying it live right under him. I mean, I think this content, this graphic sums it up, though, right? I mean, as long as we continue to benefit from this rat race of capabilities enhancing, does subscribing to C also for vulnerable you, or is it separate? I joined the newsletter. Awesome content. I'm sorry, subscribing to C, to X. All of my like subscription stuff is unfortunately separate. I want to figure out a way that like if you subscribe, like if you subscribe like $subscribe, that you just get it across stuff. I don't do a whole lot of like exclusive content across all the different things. The one that I'm going to focus on is the premium newsletter. And then obviously here, right, I do this, now. X, I don't think anyone subscribes to my, like pays to subscribe to my X. So I don't really put a whole lot of exclusive content. I think on Instagram, I've got like 10 people that subscribe. So it's hard for me to like really focus on that too. So don't worry about it, Kilobyte. I appreciate the support wherever. And then, we'll figure out. I would love to figure out a way that it's like, hey, if you subscribe anywhere, they're all in like the $10 a month range. So if it's like, hey, if you give me $10 a month, I'll add you to the list across platforms for whatever that is what I'd love to figure out how to do. This is all right. Well, that just bombed everyone's afternoon. We all got to go try GPT-5.4, huh? Interesting. Sorry, I'm just like reading a bunch of people yapping about it already. All right. Well, I think that's gonna be a next stream thing. So what's today? Thursday. I will be live on Tuesday. I have a bunch of videos queued up with my editor already. So ton of YouTube stuff. I got a really good one coming out today. Once the sponsor approves. But I've got a bunch of good ones queued up. So I got a bunch of content coming out between now and then, but I'll go live on Tuesday again. And my newsletter comes out tomorrow morning. So if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Sorry I faked you out leaving a few times, everybody. But breaking news. And you guys nerd snipe me with questions every now and then. All right. See you guys.